Hey guys, what's going on? This is Andrew here, and I am going to be talking about what this video really is. So, over the course of 2020, I made a bunch of videos on IGTV called Highlights of My Collection. So, basically what I'm doing, instead of uploading them all individually, I'm going to put them into this big compilation on here, and the timestamps will be in the description. This is all from 2020, nothing from 2021, because I haven't made a Highlights of My Collection video from 2020. There may have been one or two videos I didn't include but that's just because I didn't really consider it part of highlights in my collection, and I probably labeled it wrong when I put it in highlights in my collection originally. So I may do a few more videos like this in the future where I take a few of my videos and I put them in a big compilation and upload them to YouTube as well. But for now, this is going to be the one that I upload, and I hope you guys enjoy the video if you do end up watching it all the way through. If not, like I said, there's timestamps down below.
Hey guys, what's going on? So this is a little new thing that I wanted to try and do because I never really tried this on any other of my Instagram accounts. I used to have a YouTube channel to where sometimes I would do stuff like this, but recently I've just lost motivation to do that. But I've regained the motivation to make this new account and to try something new. So today I'm going to talk about some of the highlights of my Xbox collection. Now, if I were to talk about all of my favorite games on the Xbox, this video would be way too long. So I'm probably going to make a part 2 later on. At the same time, too, I've been collecting Xbox games much more than I've been playing them. So there's a lot in my collection that I haven't got to touch upon yet. So the ones I'm going to talk about today are ones that I've played, not completely through, but a lot of, and enjoyed the gameplay, graphics, and stuff otherwise. So the first set of games I'm going to talk about are a few third-person shooters that I've enjoyed in my time of playing these. Now, what's significant about all these games is all of them except one I didn't play until after I had played newer versions of them and newer iterations. So we're going to start off with some of my favorite Star Wars games. I have other Star Wars games I like a lot, but these just happen to be the third-person ones that I'm going to be talking about. Now, I love these ones a lot. They give you a nice OG feel. The sad part is, since I'm pretty young, I didn't get to play these growing up. So I didn't get to experience Xbox Live with these. I didn't get to experience them on PlayStation either. I got to experience these on PS2. I got to experience these games on PC through Steam, through some clients that I can use to play online still since they shut down the servers. And these two are hell of the games. I love the gameplay style. I love how they kind of put you in the story. It doesn't tell the story as much, but I love the way that they kind of put you in there. And if you've seen Star Wars, you know where you are and know the significance. So it's pretty cool to see yourself in these games from whatever perspective. I've had a lot of fun with these. I've played them first on PC. I've jumped over to Xbox, and I love these just as much. I love this port. Most of the time when you go to Xbox, you're going to find good Star Wars games, for the exception of a few ones. For example, Star Wars Obi-Wan, which I've played a bit of, and it's kind of shitty, but I'm starting to like a lot. So that might even be in my next video. The next one I want to talk about is this game called Gun. Now, this gives me a big, Red Dead GTA vibe, and I would have a feeling that the games in the future took inspiration from this. I love this a lot. This has a great story. The gameplay is ahead of its time. The graphics are great. I know there's an Xbox 360 port of this as well, but I wanted to get the OG port on the Xbox because I love playing the console itself. So I love this game a lot. I'm definitely probably going to continue it. I'm almost at the end of the game. I'm almost positive because I've seen gameplay on YouTube and how many missions there were, and I've played this for countless hours. So I love this game a lot. And in fact, the game owner at Game On, Tristan, who is the one who recommended me this game as one of the shooters that he loves. Next few games I'm going to talk about, and if you don't own an Xbox or a PS2 and you're looking to get one, these are honestly system sellers. These are some of the reasons that I play the modern games today. Now, what's funny is I actually started the GTA series after this GTA series after GTA 5 and GTA 4, so I played 4 and 5 before I got and played these. So jumping on these, it was a little different because the controls and everything were a lot weirder to get used to after just playing the new ones, but over time I got used to playing them and I loved them a lot. Personally, my favorite of the few is San Andreas. And this one is really good. A lot of the cheat codes are a lot of fun in the game. They have a good amount of missions. The story is awesome. I honestly think it's one of the best. Vice City would be my least favorite, which is pretty ironic because a lot of people love it. GTA 3 is also really good. I'm actually playing through this on the PS2 right now because I never got a chance to beat them. I never got a chance to beat any of these games yet. I got through a decent amount of Vice City on the PC, a decent amount through San Andreas on the PC. I'm currently working through this on Xbox as well. And GTA 3, I'm pretty close to the end of the game as well. So I recommend these to anybody that are looking to get the consoles itself. In fact, if you have a PC, like even if you don't have a gaming PC per se, if you have a decently modern laptop, these games will run on them just fine. And at the same time too, these games are also on mobile. They can run on basically anything. I've played this on my iPhone 5S way back then, so they should run fine on any modern phone that you have nowadays. So the last game of the third-person shooters I'm going to talk about is Tomb Raider Legend. Now, this is one of the first games I ever played growing up because this is my dad's game. Another thing about the OG Xbox is it's actually one of the first video game consoles I ever had my hands on because my dad had most of the games. Some of them I couldn't play much, but for some reason he let me play this one. Don't know why, but he did. He didn't let me play some of the others, but this one was a lot of fun. I personally like the reboots a lot better. Now, that might be an unpopular opinion, but I personally love Rise of the Tomb Raider and, you know, the reboot Tomb Raider, and I forgot what the newest one was called, but I like those a lot better than these. Now, these have their own significance. They have a lot of their own other games. I personally don't like the first few games that they made on, like, the PS1 and whatever, because they control, like, garbage, but these ones, they redeemed themselves. The remasters and all that stuff also came out. I think this game is solid. I recommend it to someone looking to get into the franchise. Gives me a lot of an Uncharted vibe. I know this came out first, but this definitely inspired Uncharted in a positive way. Alright, so now that I'm done with the third-person shooters, I'm going to jump over to the first person. Alright, so the first game I'm going to talk about is Black. I love this game a lot. It's a great first-person shooter. It seriously has a great story. The gameplay is awesome. I think it's ahead of its time. I haven't played many shooters on the console to really know where and what's ahead of its time, but I have a feeling that playing through most of this, I'm almost done with the game with this as well. This definitely laid the groundwork for probably some of the newer Call of Duty games that came out, and this definitely inspired probably Black Ops, the games as well. So I recommend this. Great game. If you have a PS2 as well, get this. I don't know if it's on PC. I don't think it is, but if it is, you know, you can always emulate it. Great game. Great game. Now, this is my least favorite Doom game of all time, but that doesn't mean that it's a bad game altogether. I like it. It's not specifically like the other Doom games. It's not nearly as fast-paced. This kind of gives me more of a Halo-ish vibe. I think that's what they were kind of shooting for anyway, because what Halo kind of left a mark on the world. So this is a great game. I love it a lot. You know, I haven't beat it yet. I did get it decently far into the story. I've had a lot of fun with it so far, so might get back into it. I also have this on PC, the BFG edition, and with higher graphic settings and all that stuff. But this is a great port on Xbox. I know it's basically exclusive to Xbox. It was also on PC, but console-wise, it was exclusive. Alright, so next two shouldn't be a surprise. Halo 1 and 2, some of my favorite shooters of all time. I will still go back and play these games on any platform that it is. I already beat it on PC on the Master Chief Collection. I beat it in general on the original Halo 1 and 2 ports that came to PC. I played those two. I've played the original Xbox ports. These are some of the first games I also played as well, because these are my dad's copy of the game. I would like to get the hardcover of the Halo 2, because I think that one looks really cool. But for now, these are a really cool thing to keep on my shelf. I love them. They're great games. I recommend, you know, if you know what Xbox is, you know to buy these games, so I don't even have to recommend it. These are already at the top of probably anybody's list when going for the system. Alright, so now I'm going to go into some racing stuff. Now, I'm not a big racing game person. I didn't really get into stuff like Forza. I didn't get into games like Gran Turismo, stuff like that, but I got into some of like the more exotic racing games where you get to do a lot more things other than just the racing. So the first two games I'm going to talk about, the Burnout series. Now, I don't have the first one, but I have Burnout 3 and 2, and these are a hell of a lot of fun. I love the mode where you can crash into a ton of people in this game. This is my favorite of the two. It has a lot of fun where you just crash into cars and your meter keeps going up, and you can play with your friends and kick their asses, or they can kick your asses. This is a type of game that you can really play with anybody who's not familiar with video games, and I think that's one of the coolest things about this game. Because my girlfriend isn't a big gamer, or she at all, really. She doesn't play any at all for the most part, but I got her playing this, and she did beat me a few times. So this is a game that I'd say you can play with anybody. It's a lot of fun. It's funny. The soundtrack is also amazing. I can say the same thing about this game. The only thing that was added is the crashing into the cars, but I love going in the middle of traffic and just everything causing all that rage and all the property damage and car damage and everything. These games are fucking awesome, and I really would recommend them to anybody. They're great racing games, and even for someone who's not a racing game fan, I love the hell out of these. So yeah, I'm gonna put that aside. I'm gonna move on to the last game. I don't have many games of these, like I said before. I'm not a big racing guy, so this is not per se a racing game. This is more of an MX game, and it says right in the title. This game is my complete childhood. Honestly, I was probably 4 years old when I was playing this with my dad. I had my little brothers that would play it with us. What I like about this game, it feels a lot smoother than some of the other MX games that they had out there. I had MX versus ATV as well. It just didn't feel as good, and I don't know what it was about it, but I feel like this, maybe because I just played this so much throughout my childhood, this is what really gave me the love for this game. Just maybe the fact that it's nostalgia. I don't really know, but whatever it is, this is a great game. I love it a lot. What's really funny about it too is I haven't gotten past anything, so I haven't unlocked the new freestyle modes. I really only play freestyle on this because it's a lot of fun. I love doing new tricks, funny things. It's fun to play with your friends, and like I said, my girlfriend's not a gamer, but she's played this with me plenty of times, and it's a lot of fun. So yeah, that's the last of that. So now I'm gonna move on to one more little part of my collection that I like to kind of say is like the type of games that I don't normally go towards, but are games that really impacted my childhood and maybe go and become fans of them later on. Now, the first game I'm going to talk about is a fighting game. I'm not a big fighting game person, I'll admit it. I'm not very much into Smash Bros. Or any of that. I do play them once in a while, but they're just not my main big games. But I will say, Soul Calibur 2 was awesome. They have an awesome amount of characters, awesome amount of stages. It's a fun multiplayer game. You can play this with anybody. And yeah, my girlfriend also kicked my ass in this game too. Barely picking up an Xbox controller in her life, but still was able to manage to beat me in this game plenty of times. It's a fun game. I recommend this for anybody. I also did play Soul Calibur 1 on the Dreamcast. It's also an amazing, great game. I believe this game came out on the GameCube as well, and I don't know if it came out on PlayStation, but I know they had I believe they had Link in the GameCube version. So I don't know which one is better because I don't have the GameCube version, but this is definitely a great port. It runs great. It looks great. It's altogether one of my favorite games to play on the system. Alright, so now on to probably my favorite game on the system, which is a pretty unpopular opinion because there's so many good Xbox games, but this is probably one of my favorite games. Now, why this is so significant to me is because this is actually a game that I started playing, and my dad banned me from playing at a young age because I would constantly imitate the things that these guys would do. I would constantly say things that Aragorn would say. I would constantly do the moves, you know, I'd pretend to kill people. My dad's like, oh no, video game violence, that's not happening. Yeah, stop. So he took this game away from me. I had this on the GameCube as well. I ended up buying it for the GameCube because that was my system, this was my dad's. I bought it because I loved the game so much. Because when my dad wasn't home, he wouldn't let me play his system. So I said, you know what, I'm getting the game for myself. I played this game, had a lot of fun with it. You know, I had a lot of fun, and I don't blame my dad for taking the game away either. It was probably the best anyway. It was a little too mature for my age, but coming back into it, playing it nowadays, I love the hell out of this. So I played this over so many times. I'm looking at actually doing 100% completion on each console altogether. I've already done it on GameCube and this, so I'm looking to do it on the PS2 next. Alright, so now the last game I'm going to talk about, I know this video has been quite long, but the last game I'm going to talk about is, surprisingly, a sports game. I'm not really a sports person, never really was. I do appreciate watching it, but this was a game I played with my family, you know, FIFA World Cup, I think it's 2006. 2006 FIFA World Cup. It's a fun game, you know, it's soccer, there's not much to talk about, but this game was definitely my childhood. I played it with my brothers, played it with my dad. Like I said, wasn't a big sports fan, but playing this game was a hell of a lot of fun. So anyway, guys, I hope you like this kind of new thing that I tried out. I'm probably going to end up maybe doing this a little more often, and maybe next time I'll cut it into more parts. I will make a part 2 of this video eventually. I'm going to put timestamps in the description of this video. That way you can kind of jump around and not have to watch the whole thing, because I know I can tend to be a little boring and sidetrack a lot. I was never very good at that in general of talking, but I hope you guys like my whole perspective on all this. I'll see you in the next video. Alright guys, this is my second episode of my highlights for my collection, and today we're going to be talking about the Sega Genesis. Now I'm going to start talking about the importance of the Genesis to me first before I get into the collection. This system, although it wasn't the first system I owned, it was the system that I bought to specifically get into retro game collecting. On the day I was going to buy the system, I chose this over the Nintendo 64 because where I went, the pricing was exactly the same. I was talking to my friends online, I was saying which one should I go for, they told me Genesis, and I think I made a good decision because to this day I like the Genesis better than the Nintendo 64, which may come as a surprise to a lot of people, but it's true to me. I love the 16-bit era of games, and I think a reason for that is because the first system that I had for myself, that I specifically owned for myself, was the GBA. And since a lot of games on that system were 16-bit, as well as a lot of Sega Genesis games being on the GBA, it made me love the 16-bit games on the Genesis itself. So now we're going to start talking about the games I like a lot there. I consider the highlights. These may not be some of the best, the rarest, but there are a lot of games that I love with all my heart. So first off, we're talking about the first game that I got. Now, there was another game in this collection I got first, but I'm going to save it towards the end because it's actually still my favorite on the system. The first game I got is Mortal Kombat, the first one. Now, I have Mortal Kombat 2 as well, and I'm pretty sure I got it in the same day, but I really haven't played much of it. I played this game a lot more, and I had a few friends over to play this with me when I first got the system, and it is a blast. I like this version over the Super Nintendo version because it's got the blood and gore in it, and I think that's the best part of Mortal Kombat with the fatalities and all that, and the blood and gore and just everything that I love about fighting games like this. I'm not a big fighting game person, especially not when I'm playing alone, but when I have friends to play with, it's always great. Now, they always kick my ass, you know, because I never really practice these. Like I said in my last video, I'm not really a Smash guy or any kind of fighting game guy at all. But this game is one of my favorite games on the system, and I can 100% say that truly. Alright, so now the next one I'm going to talk about is Aladdin. Now, this is a great game. I'm not too big into the classic Disney movies as I was back then, but this game I recently got into, and it's a lot of fun. I always saw this on the shelf at retro game stores. I've always seen it on display to where people have played it, to where people have always recommended to buy this one. I've seen grown-ass adults recommend to buy this one. So I thought, you know what, why not give it a shot? I tried it out, gave me a lot of fun. I love these kind of games, and any other Disney movie game plays similarly to this, such as Taz and The Lion King. Now, I didn't put those games on the list because I like this game the best, and I figured since they all played similarly, I'd choose the one that's my favorite. Okay, the next game I'm going to talk about is Echo the Dolphin. Now, this one, I'm not going to say it's the best game, but it's definitely one that I appreciate a lot. I feel like it's one of those games that incorporates story into it. And during the 16-bit era, you know, even though it was incorporated in some games, I feel like this did a very good job of telling it. I also have the other Echo the Dolphin game, which I have not played yet, but I've been playing this one and have had a lot of fun with it. I recommend this to anybody that's a Genesis owner or anybody that's looking to get a Genesis. Okay, next game I'm going to talk about. I actually got this as a repro cart. I went on eBay, accidentally bought the game for $7, and then after checking the description, I noticed that the description looked kind of fishy, so I messaged the seller, and I was like, hey, is this the real cart? He said, no, this is a repro. They don't make the real carts anymore. We sell them cheap, and they're high quality. We have good reviews. I said, I think I'm just going to get a refund. The problem was the thing already shipped. The guy said, the thing's already shipped. I can give you a refund, but if you can leave me good feedback, I'd appreciate it. So I said, of course. 3 months later, it came in, and I got Castlevania Bloodlines. So this is a hell of a game. I haven't played any of the other Castlevania games, but I know there's a huge fan base saying that this is one of the better ones. I love it a lot. I haven't beaten the whole thing because, let's face it, I suck at 16-bit games as much as I love them. I suck at them all. This is a fun one to play. I've been playing it quite a lot ever since I got it, and I'm looking to eventually beat it, and hopefully that day will come. Okay, the next one's also a repro cart, different seller, exact same scenario, exact same day that I bought it. Once again, found this one for $7, maximum carnage, everybody. This is a great Sega Genesis game. I believe this is also on the Super Nintendo. I haven't played enough of this yet to really say it's one of my favorites, but it definitely is up there to where I can consider it a highlight. It's definitely a lot of fun. I'm having trouble with the first few stages, so I can't say that it's my favorite yet, but I love the way that it looks, the way that it plays. I'm looking to get more into this when I have more time to sit down. I just started college, so I might not have as much time to sit down and play them as much as I have to review them. Alright, the next one I have on my list, it's not exactly a singular game. It's a compilation cartridge of some of the best games on the system, in my opinion, and probably to anybody else. So we got the 6-pack. I saw this one at the store at Game on Miller Place, and I don't remember how much I got it for, but I don't think I got it for much. This game features Sonic the Hedgehog, Golden Axe, Streets of Rage, Revenge of Shinobi, Columns, and Super Hang-On. Now, I don't play Columns and Super Hang-On much, but I have played all the way through Golden Axe and Sonic the Hedgehog, and I beat Streets of Rage with my friend. So Revenge and Shinobi and Columns are the ones I don't play nearly as much. But my favorite game on this cart has to go to Golden Axe. I've loved the hell out of the gameplay. It's one of the first games I ever played for the Genesis, because before I got the Genesis, I actually had the emulator where I played the game on and played through it a few times. When I got the Genesis, I pretty much improved right away and beat the whole game once again. I love the game a lot. Sonic the Hedgehog 1 also has a great gameplay. Anyone who has a Genesis knows what Sonic is, probably played the games. You know, it's not nearly as good as some of the other ones, but I think it was a great start and really laid the foundation for the next few 3D games. There were a lot of bugs to fix and gameplay mechanics to change up, but it definitely was a good game. As well as Streets of Rage, having awesome bosses, awesome gameplay. I can't say enough about this game. It is amazing. Go for it. But yeah, that's 6-pack. I'm going to put this one down now. And I'm going to go on to my last game, which is my favorite. And I just talked about Sonic the Hedgehog, so I'm going to talk about Sonic the Hedgehog 2. Now, I would have added 3 on this list, but I haven't beaten it yet, so I can't really say whether I've enjoyed it completely yet. I also have Sonic and Knuckles, which I haven't played through yet either. I haven't even gotten past the second stage yet, because I haven't put enough time into trying. This game I played all the way through. I've played it all the way through once on the Genesis and once on the Sega Saturn with the compilation with all the ones on the disc. Now, I love this game so much. I feel like they improved so much upon compared to Sonic 1. I love how you can play as Sonic and Tails together and choose one player, and someone can plug in their controller, play as Tails, die as much as they want, and have no significance whatsoever. I've almost beaten the entire game with a friend at a place until we reached the time limit of when we were supposed to be there, and we ended up stopping playing the game. We probably could have beaten it all both together if we would have just stayed and kept going. But this is a great game, my favorite in the whole series, and probably one of my favorite Sonic games of all time. As shitty as a lot of people will look back at these games and think how shitty they are, I severely love this game, and I will constantly keep replaying it. And one day I might even try to start speedrunning it, because it's a lot of fun for me. Anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed this episode. Maybe eventually I'll make a part 2 for the Genesis. For now, this is everything. I don't know if there will be a part 2 or not, but for now, you know what? This is a good amount of games. I'm satisfied with this pick. I'm going to be collecting more for it as time goes on. For now, I'm going to be saving money for the PS5 and whatever, so there'll probably be some time until I do that. But anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. I'll see you in the next one. Hey guys, what's going on? This is the next video to my series where I'm going to be talking about the highlights of my collection, and today we're going to be talking about the Xbox 360. Now, this is one of my favorite consoles of all time. I know I've said that for most of the videos already, but the reason is this plays a big part in why I really play video games a lot more today. It was the first system that was my own. It was like my own system that I played on a TV. I know I had Game Boys and DS's, but this is the first, home console that I've had for myself. My dad got one first in, I think, 2008, 2009. I got my 360 in 2013, Christmas that year, after the Xbox One came out, because I wanted to get a system to where I can play multiplayer with my friends, because a lot of them still played on 360. Even though some of them got the Xbox One that year, they were still willing to play some MW2, MW3, and fuck, I already spoiled some of the games off my list. So I'm actually now going to talk about those first. Well, actually, I'm actually going to talk about 3. So, although I loved MW1 and MW2, and love the multiplayer like crazy on those, I will always consider MW3 my favorite. Now, the significance of this game is it is one of the games that got me into multiplayer. After I got into Call of Duty Ghost multiplayer, that was the first game I played multiplayer. I know, call me late to the party and whatever, but I wasn't really a multiplayer guy growing up. I played mainly Nintendo stuff like on the Wii, some Pokemon, whatever, but as I got a little bit into my teenage years, I got into some of the M-rated stuff, some of the shooters, some other games like GTA and stuff like that. But this game plays a big part in my childhood, my teenagehood. It's got a great multiplayer, and I love the campaigns that they, I think it's Infinity Ward and Sledgehammer worked on this game too. So, yeah. So I love the the single-player campaign on this. I believe it's a great follow-up from MW2. It ends the whole Modern Warfare series, I think, perfectly. I know they made a reboot of the series for the Xbox One and PS4, but I love the first three. It's got a great multiplayer. It's got some MW2 maps on here as well, so you can even have some of the stuff combined. It's got great graphics, great gameplay. I could talk about this for so long, but unfortunately, I don't want to make this video too long. Now, I also have BO1 and BO2. Those would be my two favorites, but I lost the games. I have no idea where the fuck they are. They're probably either in my basement with my dad's Xbox, or maybe my brother accidentally gave them to someone. Who the hell knows? But regardless, if I can't ever find them, I might just rebuy them. Alright, so the next two games I'm going to talk about are some Guitar Hero rhythm-based games. So here's Guitar Hero 3. This is a great game because it's got a great set list, great engine. With this engine, I feel like it's probably the best engine that they created, in terms of the fact that it is pretty lenient for the most part, but it's not too lenient to the point where you can spam a ton. I believe this is one of the best they ever created. I know if you play this on PC, you can increase the FPS and spam like a crazy motherfucker, but this is a great game to play on the 360. Warriors Rock is my favorite, but I'm going to be talking about this one because this one probably played more of a part in me getting into classic rock and playing guitar in general. This has got Through the Fire and Flames on it. You know, it's got One by Metallica as some of the biggest hits on there. Got Raining Blood, which got me into Slayer, and obviously since that's one of their biggest hits, it got me to dive into more stuff. Got me to dive into stuff, more classic rock. You know, you got a lot of hits on this game, and including a ton of DLC that you can get, including the Death Magnetic full album, which is awesome because I love that album as well. This is the probably game that got me into Metallica along with Guitar Hero Metallica, considering I was able to listen through the whole Death Magnetic album playing it on the DLC, FCing almost every song off that list. Great game. Alright, so the next one is Rock Band 3. Now this has also got a great set list. It's also very diverse, and what's awesome about this game is you can play so many different instruments on it. And the charting on this is also incredible. The Harmonix does amazing charting when it comes to their songs, as well as this having a ton of DLC that you can download, including Through the Fire and Flames, just like from this one. Now, they've also transferred some of these DLC to Rock Band 4, and even improved on some of it. They're still releasing DLC on Rock Band 4 as we speak. I believe this is a great game. You can play the keyboard on this, you can play drums, you can play pro drums, pro guitar, pro bass, you know, regular bass with the 5-button guitar, regular guitar. You can do so much on this. Vocals, you know, it's awesome. I seriously love this. It's got a great variety of just the set list in general, but you can also install some custom songs in this game fairly easily as long as you go back to the earlier updates of it. That way, it doesn't detect that you're modding the game. I don't even think you can mod it without rolling it back, at least to my knowledge. But this engine is fun to play on. It is very strict. It is very similar to GH2. The trills on it suck, and as the notes come by faster, the engine becomes a lot stricter. So there's not much more I can talk about this, but I love it. You know, nowadays a lot of people are playing this on an emulator on PC and doing the customs because the Rock Band 3 version is one of the best versions to play on PC. But yeah, definitely check this game out if you have a 360 and are into rhythm games. Next game I'm going to talk about is Skyrim. Now this is a great game. As anybody who's played this before, you're going to know what you're going to get into. It's got a huge world that you can explore. You don't even necessarily have to play the story. You can just keep improving yourself, leveling up yourself, and getting more moves and all that stuff. Now playing through it is also one of the things that's going to get you to get to some of those moves, but you can level up your persuasion, you can get better weapons, you can just do a whole ton with this game. I am hoping that they're going to release the Elder Scrolls, the next one, Elder Scrolls 6, soon, because this is a great game, and I can already tell with how these guys release games, it's going to be a good follow-up. I know that Fallout 4, a lot of people didn't like it better than Fallout 3, but I have a feeling that considering it's taking so damn long to release the next game, that it's going to be really good. Great game, definitely check it out. If you have a PS3, play it as well. I personally think this is the best experience on PC. You can pretty much get this game on anywhere, and I wouldn't be surprised if they fucking release it on the toaster soon. Alright, next few games I'm going to talk about is the GTA series. Now, San Andreas is also on here, but personally I think you're getting the better experience by playing it on the OG consoles, because that's where it was meant to be played. You don't get away from playing it on 360 and PS3, but honestly, these are some great games. GTA 5 and GTA 4. Now, what's also about GTA 4 with this one is it came with some expansions, the Battle of Gay Tony and the Lost and Damned. I've played through both of them. I played through them on the Xbox 360 and I played through them on the PC, so I got the experience playing both. Now, this is one of the best experiences to play. I believe this is a better experience than the GTA on the PS3. Now, at the same time, you can connect this. You can play this on the Xbox One and the Xbox One X, and the frame rates are a lot more stable and they're better. So this is a great game to play. Nico is an interesting character, as well as Johnny and Luis on the left over here or right, depending on. Yeah, I think it's on the right. Whatever. I believe that GTA 4 has one of the best stories of all time of a GTA game. I love the little backstory that they put on Nico. I love how they connected all these characters together through having one of the missions where they're all playable together. I believe that this is one of the coolest things that Rockstar could have done to combine the world, to really have everyone interact, to where you can see the character you played as in one game be a character that you interact with in another game. I seriously think that's awesome. So, it's also got some great cheat codes to play with. You can go on a lot of rampages. I personally think this is the easiest game to go on a rampage in, considering that the weapons are awesome and you tend to die a lot easier. You tend to not die as easily in this game, unless you want to consider that you can use invincibility in GTA 5. This is a lot of fun. I personally would consider you guys to get this game. Next one would be GTA 5. Great graphics, great gameplay. I love how you can play between 3 characters in one game. I seriously think that they hit it out of the ballpark with this one. I think fans would really say that that's true, that they hit it out of the ballpark. This game is awesome. It's got full detail of each of the characters, although I wish they would have included more on Franklin's backstory. It would be interesting to know if there really is any connection with him and CJ. I don't know if they've confirmed it or not, but I'm almost positive that they didn't, because I probably would have known about it, because I've played through this game so many times to where my friends would joke around and say that GTA 5 is my favorite sport. I've beaten this game over 20 times. It is insane how much I love this game. You can play this on PC, PS3, this console, Xbox One, and PS4, and soon Xbox Series X and PS5. I hope that Rockstar comes out with another GTA game. I'm not getting my hopes up for the quality of it, because I know a lot of developers will get cocky, not working on it as hard, and just know that they will get the people buying it because of the name. But I am hoping that it will be even better than this, and I would even be fine if it was just a continuation of this game. I really wish they would have released some DLC for this, and other than the online and everything, really wish they would have made an expansion like they did for the 3D collection. I really wish and like they did for GTA 4. Okay, down to my last 3 games. Red Dead Redemption. I love this game. It's a great little game. I haven't played through all of it. I have played through some of it. Red Dead 2 is also a great game. This is basically GTA if you're in the Midwest. I love how it is. It looks a bit like GTA 4, like I said, from the Midwest. The graphics are awesome. The gameplay is awesome. The story, from what I've played so far, is awesome. There's a lot of content in this that may not be suitable for younger kids, and I didn't start playing this until I was much older anyway, 16. But it's definitely a great game to check out if you're into the GTA series. I get mixed reviews from my friends with how they felt about this, but a lot of people I know loved Red Dead 2, so I can assume that many people would like to play this. There is also a zombies version of this game, the Undead Nightmare, which I have as well, which I love. Now, I want to play through this game eventually, sit down and just get it over with. I would love to try it, to play through it more. Okay, next game on my list is Tomb Raider. This is a reboot to the original Tomb Raider series. I played through the original Tomb Raider series, not the original. I played through the original Xbox version of Tomb Raider Legend. It was one of the games of my childhood that I played with my dad. This, I like better, surprisingly. Normally, when I think of stuff nostalgically, I like the games better that give me nostalgia, but surprisingly, this game I thought was a lot better. I played through it on the 360, I played through it on the PC, and I played through it on the Xbox One. I didn't do that on purpose. I just happened to see them on Steam and go, I'm going to try it out, and then I ended up being hooked on the game and playing it a lot. It's got cool character development for Lara Croft. It's got great gameplay. It gives you a lot of an Uncharted feel. This came out after the Uncharted series had already been established and where Uncharted 4 was being developed. It's a great game. I definitely recommend you guys going to check out if you like it. And Rise of the Tomb Raider also came out on the system. I have it on the Xbox One and the PS4. But this is all. They also got it on the 360 if you do not have the next-gen systems yet. Or current-gen systems, as I want to call it. I keep calling it next-gen. I'm so late. I'm so late to the party, man. Alright, last game I'm going to talk about. Halo 3. I know I don't have the actual case for it. I think this was the actual case, just someone fucked it up. I must have played this with my friends a decent amount. I played more of the game on the Xbox One when I got the Master Chief Collection. In my opinion, this has got the best story. This is a great continuation to Halo 2. And in my opinion, this is the last Halo game. I'm not shitting on 343 with what they've done, but I think this was a good way to end off the series. Now, Halo 4 was good. I actually will say that I loved Halo 4, but I personally think that this was the end of the series, in my opinion, because this was the last game. I believe it was one of the last games developed by Bungie. I love it a lot. It's a great game. It's got awesome multiplayer, couch multiplayer. You can play this on 360 and PC and Xbox One. So, yeah, guys, that's the end of this video. Maybe I'll make a part 2 if I can find more of my Xbox 360 games. Like I said, I'm not the only one who owns it. So there are more games that I've played that may be in my basement or maybe have just been sold. But maybe I'll even pick up more because I'm looking to collect for the system once again. Alright, guys, thank you for watching. Have a good one. Hey guys, what's going on? So this is the next episode in my series that I'm making for my collection highlights, and today we're going to be talking about the Xbox One. Now, the thing with this console to me is I do have a decent amount of physical games. For some reason, some of them got lost. My brother has an Xbox One as well, but I have a huge amount of digital games for the system. For one, for the convenience factor. Two, for the fact that some of them can be played also on Windows 10 when I buy one of them on Xbox One, so I can jump between the couch and playing on my PC. And just the fact that if you have Xbox Live, they can give you free games for not only the 360, but the One as well. So, today we're just going to be talking about the physical games. There's so many games I want to talk about. I might talk about digital games eventually. Like, I'll go on my Steam account, I'll talk about my favorites on there, and I'll go on my Xbox One, my PS4, my PS3, my 360, and I'll be going through with all that too. But for now, we're going to talk physical. So, to start off, I'm going to talk about the franchise that I love a lot. Now, I also had Ultimate Edition, and I played through all the Gears of War games through that, including the remastered Gears of War 1, but the Gears of War series. Gears of War 4 was a great game. I didn't like it nearly as much as I liked some of the other ones. I think it was still better than Gears 1, but Gears 2 and 3 took my place over this. This is a great continuation of the story. You play as Adam Phoenix's son in this game, which is awesome, because they got to show it kind of from like much more later in the future. I'm not going to spoil the story, but it is a great continuation. It's got great gameplay. You know, the multiplayer is fun as hell, just like any other Gears of War game. And yeah, I like this game a lot. I played through the campaign in pretty much 2 days, so it's not that long of a playthrough. In fact, I think it's a lot easier to play through the campaign than a lot of the other ones. Then again, I played on the normal difficulty rather than the higher ones because I suck at games like this, but I love it a lot. Definitely check it out. Next one is Gears of War 5. So far, I haven't played through the campaign at all, and I haven't even touched the multiplayer. But this one is pretty good. You're in a different perspective in this one compared to Gears 4. I've only played through a little bit of this. I'm up to Chapter 2 right now, I believe. And there's some pretty cool stuff going on. From what I've played so far, I feel like the story in here is slightly better than Gears 4. But I also feel like Gears 4 is a game that was meant to lead up to this game. Definitely check it out. Great game. I love it a lot. And once again, it's one of the Xbox's very few exclusives. So yeah. Alright, the next game I'm going to talk about is also an Xbox One exclusive. Now this is ReCore. I played a little bit of this game. It's pretty cool so far from what I've played. I touched upon it for a little while and then almost never picked it up again. But I don't know what it is, but it kind of gives me like a Ratchet and Clank feel, even though it's not actually like, you know, one of those cartoonish games that Ratchet and Clank would give you. It's an awesome little game. I believe this only launched at like 30 or 40 bucks, so it wasn't even meant to be that expensive, which is awesome because I'm pretty sure you can find this pretty cheap everywhere nowadays. I played through some of it so far. It's pretty interesting. I definitely recommend checking it out. Once again, another few of the Xbox One exclusives. Alright, next game, Rock Band 4. Now, I like Rock Band 3 better than this game, but this game has introduced some pretty interesting stuff. So it's got an awesome set list. You know, it's got online just like every other Rock Band game. The only problem is it didn't launch with online. So you actually had to buy Rock Band Rivals to play online. So I had the original game first with the Legacy adapter. I was going to buy Rivals, but I saw it was going for like 20 bucks on the store, and I was like, I don't want to buy the DLC. My friend Zach linked me to a dude on eBay who was selling the whole thing with the DLC code for only like 10 bucks. I jumped right on it and got it. You know, this has got some great DLC on the game. The charting is great as always. in my opinion, the engine is much better than Rock Band 3's. You know, they fixed a lot of that stupid stuff to where if the notes would speed up, the engine would get tighter. No, this is a much better engine. It's much more fair. It's a lot of fun. You can use your old Xbox 360 controllers to play on here, and if you have the PS4 version, I'm pretty sure you can use the PS3 ones as well. I don't know if that one has a legacy adapter, but the Xbox One has a legacy adapter to have all the old ones, minus the wired. But this is a decent game. Harmonix still releases DLC for it. I really wish they would have done better for the launch of the game. This really didn't launch ready. It didn't even have a practice mode. Like, what the fuck, Harmonix? But it's a fun game. Definitely recommend checking it out if you're into the Guitar Hero series. If you have old guitars, try to look for that legacy adapter unless you want to spend some money on a new Xbox One controller guitar. Alright, so this game is a little underrated. I played the beta and fell in love with it right away. But when I got the game, I wasn't too crazy about it. But I've recently gone back to try it out, and I fell back in love with it again. Evolve, everybody. So, this game had a demo, like I said. I played it originally on PC, and this was one of the first games I got on Xbox One as soon as I got this system itself, because I really wanted to try it. Because after playing the demo, I waited months before getting the actual game. It plays at 30 FPS, so it's a little weird, but it's a great little game. You know, you play as either the people who are combating or the monsters, and you just, every time you level up, you turn into like this crazy, even bigger monster. You have more power-ups. And as for the other guys, it's the similar kind of thing. It's a great little game. No one really talks about it anymore, but I'm pretty sure there's still a decent community. I'd like to jump on and play this a little more again. But for now, I've been kind of busy with schoolwork, so I haven't gotten a chance to. Evolve. Okay, this is one of my favorite games on the system because it's a huge compilation, and this is some of the best looking games on the Nintendo 64, and it looks even better on modern TVs, because you try putting a Nintendo 64 on modern TVs, it looks like outdated shit. But here you go. Rare Replay. This comes with 30 games that Rare made, a lot of them which were on the N64, and came over to Xbox One and Xbox 360. It's got a great collection on here. You know, I've played Conker's Bad Fur Day on Nintendo 64 at my friend's house a few times, and, you know, I always wanted to own the game, but it's so damn expensive. I found this for next to nothing at a GameStop. Yeah, I got this for like, I think I got for $8 from what it looks like. So this is a great game to have if you're looking to play some of those classics. You got a lot that's on here. You got like Banjo-Kazooie, Banjo-Tooie, Conker's Bad Fur Day, like I said, Killer Instinct Gold, Perfect Dark Zero. You know, you got some pretty good shit on here. Viva Pinata. Yeah, you got a lot of stuff on here that I definitely recommend checking out, because this is a great game. This is a great game for retro collectors, in my opinion, because this has got everything on it, and you can play it all on one console. And this is definitely for nostalgia as well for anybody that played the classic Nintendo 64 games. All right. Next game, I've been kind of bringing up a lot lately and just haven't showed it, but Rise of the Tomb Raider. Now, I think this is the best Tomb Raider game that's ever come out as of now. I haven't played through Shadow of the Tomb Raider yet to really make my final decision on that, but I personally like this better than the first game of the reboot. This is an incredible game. The story is incredible. The graphics are incredible. Even on PC, this game is still decently hard to run if you're trying to get it at max settings for any piece of hardware. Even the 2080 Ti was struggling a little bit, but it's a great game. You know, you got a great story, a great continuation from the first one, like I said before. It's definitely, if you're into Uncharted, I definitely recommend jumping onto this, because the gameplay is very similar, the graphics are very similar, and as well, this is also on the Xbox 360, so if you don't have an Xbox One, you can actually pick this up on the 360, and it runs really well. It's as if it was an Xbox 360 game. They did a good job porting this over to the 360, and this actually used to be this had a timed exclusive on the Xbox One. That's why I picked it up on the Xbox One first before the PS4. I have the PS4 version as well, the 20th anniversary edition. But this game is great. You know, if you have the Xbox One, you're not losing anything. And it especially looks great on the Xbox One X because they have a native 4K option on there. Unlike the PS4 Pro, which has like a checkerboard 4K kind of thing. And it also gives you a 60 FPS mode. So yeah. And it's also got the enhanced visuals. And it's at 1080p if you want to do that. With 30 FPS. Okay, so we're down to my last two games. The Walking Dead Season 4. This game was incredible. Now, I played every single other one, and I think this was the best. You got to play as Clementine, and you also got to play as AJ. I feel like the character development of the both of them has been awesome. You got to see, you know, Clementine go from, you know, this little, I think she was 9 in the original game, to like being older and taking care of a kid. This is a great little game. I love it a lot. You know, I played it in pretty much 2 days, but I feel like this was the perfect way to end a franchise. Telltale was out of business at this point. They were just looking to release one more game because they were already working on this, already released the last 2 episodes. I'm pretty sure there were only 13 people were working on this, and for 13 people to really get this going, actually Skybound also collaborated on it a little bit to help them out too, but this game was incredible. I definitely recommend playing 1 all the way through 4. They're all on Xbox One. Some of them are on 360. I don't know if the 3rd season came to 360, but this came out on the One and the PS4, and it came out on the PC as well. Definitely check it out. This is not so much a gameplay game, it's more of a story game, but definitely one to check out. I'd also like to give a shout out to Telltale's old games, because they're incredible. Okay, the last game on my list, although it wasn't my favorite of the series, I have to go with Halo 5. Now, it's not that the game itself was terrible, it's just, it feels like it wasn't really a Halo game. Before I started playing this game, I was grinding out Destiny for a few months. Coming back to this game, I jumped on and I just felt like I was playing Destiny again. Like, it's got a great story and everything. I feel like it does have a great story. I like Halo 4's a little bit better than this one, but it was definitely interesting to see how 343 can make a standalone game again. I really wish they would have reflected more off of Halo 4's to jump on this. They kind of did a little new things on here, but I think the game was good. I'm not going to say that it wasn't good. It definitely is a highlight in my collection, and it runs great. It looks great. You know, this is one of the best looking Xbox One games. They got this to run at 1080p 60 FPS. Come on. Most Xbox One games before this were running at like 720p at the most and 900p. Mostly not targeting. They really utilized the Xbox One's power. Made this game look fucking gorgeous. So yeah, I also had the Master Chief Collection, but the problem is I had it digitally because my Xbox One, instead of coming with the disc, which I really wish they should have because it came with the bundle, the white Xbox One bundle with the Master Chief Collection, it came with the digital fucking code, which pisses me off when developers do that. Honorable mention that I'd like to talk about, I honestly don't know where the game went. It's possible my brother has it, or it's just lost somewhere in my closet somewhere, maybe somewhere else, who knows, I'll be looking for it. But Black Ops 3. I did play it more on PS4, but Black Ops 3 had a great campaign. Not nearly as good as the BO1 or BO2, but it had a decent campaign. It had some cool plot twists, cool gameplay elements, good graphics. But yeah, that's the end of this highlights video. I will eventually be making a part 2 for the Xbox One because I love the console a lot. And like I said before, I'll probably be talking about my digital highlights on the console as well as on the PS4 and on the PC, the PS3, and Xbox 360. Anyway, guys, have a good one. Hey guys, what's going on? This is Andrew here today, and I'm going to be talking about my highlights in my collection, and today we're going to be talking about the PS4. Now, this system is very interesting to talk about because this is actually probably the first PlayStation that I got that I was considering to be one of my main consoles. Now, I had a PS2 before this, but I got it the year before I got my PS4 because I wanted to play some Guitar Hero games on there that were exclusive to the system. Now, my brother got the system first, and I got the Xbox One, and I had also had a PC at that point. Now, I thought that I would just be like, alright, I'm just going to play my Xbox and my PC, and once in a while go in my brother's room. But no, I got so hooked on the system with the exclusives that were on it. There was so much stuff that came to PS4 that I was obsessed with, and I was just like, I gotta go get the system. So eventually, I caved in. I got the Black Ops 3 edition system, the 1TB edition with with the BO3 skin and everything, and it came with BO3 as well. So let's jump into the games right now. So the first ones I'm going to talk about are some of my favorites on the system, and let's put this together. It's the entire Uncharted series. Now, this is an amazing series to me, and the PS4 is what started me on them, because like I said before, I didn't have a PS3. So all my friends were telling me about the system, and I'd always hear them talking about Uncharted and how good of a game it was. And a lot of my friends told me that I probably like it because I'm very into Tomb Raider and that the gameplay was very similar. So, for Christmas, the year that I got my PS4, I bought the Nathan Drake collection and I bought Uncharted 4 about a week later. Now, this took me quite some time to beat because I had schoolwork to do and I just didn't sit down right away. But after beating Uncharted 1, I beat 2 and 3 probably in the same week. This was a great set of games. If you love Tomb Raider, this is an awesome set. If you don't want to get this pack on the PS4 because you only have a PS3, definitely, and if you don't have the games, definitely buy all 3 of them because this was a trilogy that's worth it. It looks similar on the PS3, runs much better on the PS4 with the graphics slightly better. It's a great game. I definitely recommend checking it out. As well as Uncharted 4, which is the sequel to that trilogy. This was an incredible game and an incredible ending to Nathan Drake's story. I love the hell out of it. This is also one of the games that just made me say holy shit when looking at the graphics. Because like I said before, I wasn't a huge graphics person until Quantum Break. This game came out around the same time, and this was just that game that proved that the PS4 was an absolute powerhouse. I love the hell out of it. It's a great game. I definitely recommend checking it out. Okay, so the next game on the list was Uncharted Lost Legacy. This is a follow-up to Uncharted 4. It's not exactly a sequel in a way that it goes to the ending, what happens at the end of Uncharted 4, but it happens around the timeline of it and a little bit after what happened in the story with Nathan Drake. Now, you are now Chloe in the game, and the side character, I forgot the name of, and you actually play alongside Sam, which is Nathan Drake's brother, so that's a pretty cool element to the story. This is not a huge game, it was just meant to be an expansion little thing. I do think it was good. It had about the same amount of missions as the original Uncharted, and in my opinion, it was slightly better. If in terms of rating the Uncharted games from best to worst, I'd go Uncharted 4 to Uncharted 2 to Uncharted 3 to Lost Legacy to 1. And actually Golden Abyss would probably be right above 1 to me because I love the Vita version. Alright. Next game on my list. Destiny, The Taken King. Now, this is just Destiny 1, but this came with all the expansions that were out at the time, minus Rise of Iron, which came out later. I grinded so much time on this game, and it was a lot of fun in the beginning when all the expansions were out, but they just kept releasing too many, and I feel like it was too much money to be spent, and starting this game and going into multiplayer at a low rank was not fun, so you want to play through the story first. It was a very fun game. The combat was very great. It's honestly a multi-platform Halo, because after playing Halo 5, it just felt like Destiny to me, and I didn't play it long. I jumped right back on Destiny and was grinding out the multiplayer. Great shooter. The only problem is you need to be online at all times to play it. This is only on the PS4 and Xbox One, and I believe it also came out on the 360 and PS3, up to The Taken King. I don't know if Rise of Iron came out. I'm pretty sure it didn't. But luckily, Destiny 2 came out on PC, so if you want to play the sequel to this, check it out. Also, the Xbox Series X is doing a graphics upgrade to Destiny 2 once that comes out. Alright. Next game. Incredible game. I love this game a lot. I've only beaten it in the past year, but Ratchet and Clank. Now, this is the game that got me back into gaming after I went on my gaming hiatus for about a year and a half. I love this game. It's a perfect little game that anybody can play. It's, rated E for everybody, but I believe even if you're a grown-ass 40-year-old man, this is a fun-ass game to play. It really feels like an animated movie, and you're playing in the animated movie. I am very excited for the sequel of this game. The gameplay mechanics are awesome. It kind of reminds me of Lego games, but not, and you got awesome weapon upgrades and choices of what to upgrade and a lot of collectibles. This is an awesome game. I definitely recommend checking it out. Okay. Next one, Marvel Spider-Man. Now this is an incredible game. Insomniac did an amazing job doing this. The developer behind Spider-Man 2 was not a part of this game, but he did get to sit down and play it and go, you know what, this was inspired by his work. And I definitely think this was inspired by the work. The graphics in it are amazing. I do not have the PS4 Pro to take full advantage of the textures and everything, but even on the standard PS4, this game played great, looked great, sounded great, had an amazing story. I played through the story, by the way. It definitely was an amazing game, and I feel like this could have been a movie in itself. I honestly, as stupid as it sounds, I prefer it to the one with Tom Holland. As much as I hate to say it. I love this. Okay. The next one is Black Ops 3. This is the system that came with my console. I had it on the Xbox One first, and then I bought it on here so I can get the DLC a month early, be able to record it for YouTube, and to be able to play with my friends early and just experience the maps and zombies in general. This was an incredible game. I honestly think that anybody shitting on it later on was only because they really were just butthurt over Infinite Warfare. That's just my opinion. This was an incredible game. The story itself wasn't the best compared to BO1 and BO2, and it's kind of hard to do a follow-up to BO2 considering of what the ending was like. Not going to spoil it, but considering the ending was kind of hard to follow up off of, this didn't really reflect off of it, even though it was in the future of the game, of after that, like it was in the same time, same world, but definitely great game. Amazing zombies, probably the best zombies that ever came out in a Call of Duty game. If you have the PC version of this game, you can install custom zombies on there. All the zombie maps are incredible. The multiplayer maps are incredible. I definitely recommend checking this game out. Controversial one up next. Infinite Warfare with Modern Warfare Remastered. A lot of people didn't like this game. Now, I think people were very butthurt by the fact that they made a third futuristic game, and unfortunately that made people go after Advanced Warfare. Advanced Warfare was one of my favorite games that came out in the Call of Duty series. I loved the futuristic element of it. I know it wasn't everything like the classic Call of Duty games, but it was definitely a lot of fun. I don't think this deserves shit. I think the maps were pretty decent. I think that everything else in the game was pretty decent. The multiplayer was a lot of fun. The story was incredible, by the way. This story was much better than Black Ops 3. Incredible game. It even had some zombies in it, which I didn't play much, but you can't really shit on it. It was a pretty decent game. Like I said before, the multiplayer was good too. It just was the wrong game at the wrong time, I feel like. Now, Modern Warfare Remastered was what everyone mainly went for when buying this game. They normally bought the $80 version. This eventually went separately to where you can buy it separately rather than having to buy the whole $80 bundle. But in the beginning, it had to come together. This was a great game as well, Modern Warfare Remastered. It took the game and remastered everything, made it really feel like you were playing a current-gen game. It was incredible. I loved it. Even after playing the original campaign probably a month prior, getting this game and replaying it was amazing. Definitely recommend getting this game if you're getting into shooters. Okay, we're down to my last two. Infamous Second Son. What a game, man. Yeah, I didn't get to play First Light, but I did get to play this one, and I sadly didn't get to play the other Infamous games, because like I said before, I didn't own a PS3. This was an incredible game. Incredible story, incredible game concept, incredible story concept. A lot of, plot twists, a lot of things happening. You got to do so many things in here. It was just so much fun. It was like playing GTA, but not. It was like GTA with power-ups. It was absolutely incredible. I would like to maybe compare this to Saints Row 4 in a bit, but I would consider this the better game. Great story, like I said, great graphics, great gameplay. They did an amazing job on this. I recommend, if anyone owns a PS4, get this damn game. Last game, the Crash Bandicoot Insane Trilogy. This was an awesome look back at the classic Crash games that came out prior. I believe that this is probably the best kind of remake, remaster that they have done for a series like this in the past few years of remakes and remasters. I know Nintendo is coming out with their All-Stars, but those aren't fucking remasters. I think that's cheap bullshit. I feel like this is the ultimate pack. The game looks great, it plays great. It's like you're playing a current gen game, like I said, with that old nostalgic feel. I definitely recommend checking it out. Now, I didn't grow up along Crash because I didn't own PlayStation, like I said. So I didn't get the nostalgic feel of playing this, but I felt like I was playing something new, and that really says something. This convinced me to get a PS1 and get the originals. Okay, guys, that is all. I hope you enjoyed this video. I have a lot more PS4 games that I have not played yet, as well as some digital ones I will talk about eventually. Until then, this will be my part 1. I will make a part 2 eventually once I get those games out of the way. It might be some time until I do, guys, though, because I'm reviewing and buying and collecting more than I'm playing. Plus, I have college work, and that takes up a lot of my time, too. But anyway, guys, thank you for watching. Hey guys, this is the next episode to my highlights of my collection series that I've started, and today we're going to be talking about the NES. I always loved this system growing up. It was probably the first retro game system that I knew about. For a long time I thought it was the first video game console that ever came out because it was the first Nintendo console. So I was pleasantly surprised to see the consoles that came before that I've been collecting for. But this system was my uncle's when he was a kid, and he passed down the system to me. Now, I didn't get a chance to play all the games growing up because for some reason, either the cartridges just wouldn't run on the system due to the age and terrible handling of them, or just the fact that the pins on the NES will be very annoying, because there will be times where it will read the cartridges and times where it won't. And I've been having that issue on and off for the past 5 years. I eventually went out and got a Retron 2, which was a system that had the Super Nintendo and the NES on it. So I still have my NES on top of my TV, as well as my Super Nintendo that I got on auction. But I've gotten to enjoy these games a lot more. I do not have many NES games because my uncle didn't buy a ton. And most of the games I have in the system I had already, minus the exception of 2 games. I think I've only bought 2 games ever since I got this system. So I haven't really gotten much. I bought a lot of Super Nintendo games in the time of getting that, because that was my system. So we're going to jump right into this. So obviously, having this system, you got to have, Mario Bros. And Duck Hunt. I always loved these games. I really wish that I got to play Duck Hunt a lot more. But when this system got handed down to me, I didn't have a CRT to play it on, so I didn't get to play it much. And for some reason, the light gun won't work on my Retron 2 when connected to my CRT. I don't understand why that is. I really don't, but it's just not working. Fortunately, I do get to play Mario Bros. It's a fun-ass game, and obviously everybody knows what the game is because it's become huge. Over 35 years old this is, and it still is a perfect classic that you can go back and play, and it feels timeless. Okay. Next game, I like to call Punch-Out! Now, there was another version, Mike Tyson's Punch-Out!, and I'm pretty sure there was another Punch-Out! After that, another Punch-Out! Besides that, but this was the game that I owned. Like I said, this was my uncle's, so he passed it down to me. I never got to play Mike Tyson's Punch-Out! On an actual system besides on an emulator. I didn't get too far in this game. I did get, I guess, relatively close to the ending of the game, considering the game's not that long. But I did get used to it. I love playing this game. It's one of my favorite games to play on the system. It's a game that I grew up with on the system. I used to watch my dad play it once in a while. Once my uncle gave it to us, my dad would play it once in a while. We actually gave the system to my brother. I forgot about that because he didn't have a console, so we gave it to him. But when I got this, I started playing it more, and it's a fun game. Like it a lot. Okay. Next game I got recommended from the owner of Game On in Miller Place, Tristan. It's Jaws. This is a great game. It really is. Now, when talking about the NES and all that stuff all together, when you're talking about movies, it was either good or it was really bad. Obviously, this doesn't really have to do with the movie. It's more just a game based on the movie. It's a great game. You float around in a ship for a little while until you get a shark attack, and the whole purpose of the game is to eventually get to the point where you kill Jaws. It's a very hard task to do because you don't fight Jaws forever. After a while of shooting him, you eventually move on. So your best thing to do is to not die, to keep leveling up yourself, because it's pretty much next to him. I'm pretty sure it's impossible to beat him with your lowest stats, so you keep leveling yourself up. You're pretty much sitting there for over an hour to beat this game if you aren't a professional at it. It's a hard game, but it is a lot of fun. It's definitely one of my favorites on the system, like I said. Okay. Another game is one that my uncle passed down to me. I don't know too much about the history behind this game, really that much at all. I don't think I was ever able to get past the first level. But this is definitely a fun one. You go around, shooting. It's one of the shoot 'em ups, the 2D shoot 'em ups, as many came out in the system, but this one was a lot of fun. I like it a lot, and yeah, like I said before, great game. Okay, and like I said, I don't have many games on the system, so this is actually going to be the last game that I talk about. This was also recommended to me by Game On. I went over there, and they were doing these little prizes where if you got past a certain point, I forgot what they gave you exactly. I honestly don't remember. I'm not going to try to attempt to say what they gave out. But it's Gunsmoke. This game is so good, and it's a hidden gem to me. I love it so much. You basically can either just play the game and constantly just keep making your score go up higher, or you can play and keep getting to the next level, eventually to the end of the game. I never got to the end of the game because this game is so damn hard. I did get to the second to last stage, and I've had a lot of fun with it. I'm looking to eventually beat this game. if I were to sit down and grind it, I definitely get to the end, but I just don't have as much time nowadays to sit down and play all the way through. For games that are hard like this and don't basically hold your hand through the game, this is a hard game. You know, you play as, I don't know the name of the guy, but you are basically, you're going straight, you can, move to the left, move to the right, you can shoot. There's guys coming at you, different kinds of enemies shooting different kinds of things, some just simply coming at you. You pick up power-ups, pick up ammo, you can choose different guns, and there's bosses at the end of some of the levels. Yeah, this is a great game. I definitely recommend checking it out for anybody who is into NES collecting. Now that is it for this collection. I would like to collect for the system a lot more. It's just, unfortunately, with older Nintendo systems, games can tend to be pretty expensive, so it's a lot harder for me to go and buy the games without, without my wallet suffering. The reason why I collected so much Xbox and so much PS2 and so many games like that, Xbox One and PS4, they weren't that expensive, plus they're a lot newer, so they're a lot more justifiable reasons to buy the games rather than buying some shittier games in a certain point of view. At least in my point of view, some of them are a lot shittier than the newer ones, but they're fun to collect, like I said. So the reason I play more of the other games and buy them more is because they're a lot more fun to play for a much cheaper price, where these are a lot harder, these are a lot higher in price, and they're a lot less fun to play certain games. But these ones are fun. I'm happy I have them. I definitely would have, if I can say games I would have bought in this list, I definitely probably would have bought everything but the Super game. In this list, I definitely would have bought Punch-Out, and I definitely would have bought Mario Bros. With Duck Hunt. So that's it for today, guys. Thank you for watching the video. Have a good one. Hey guys, what's going on? This is the next episode to the highlights on my collection series that I'm doing, and today I'm going to talk about every single one of my first games that I bought for each individual system. Now, what this will include is each game from each system that I bought first. It will not be games that I had first, played first. It will be based on the games I paid for with my own money when deciding to start collecting and buying games for the system. In this list, there are some cases to where when I had bought a console, I bought them with a few games. In that case, I would pick the game that I played first out of the few. So this video is probably going to be pretty long. I'm going to probably have to break this into 2 and maybe 3 parts depending on how long it is, because I'm talking about 20 games today from each console. So, first one would be Super Star Wars. I played this one a little bit and... Oh wait, which one is it? It's A New Hope, I believe, right? Yeah, this is just the original Super Star Wars. I believe this one is based off of A New Hope. It's an okay game. Honestly, I'm not a big fan of it. I am a big fan of the 16-bit era games, but I wasn't too big on this one. I haven't played it much, and I haven't played my Super Nintendo that much lately ever since I've had it. But this is a pretty decent game. I mean, it may not be for me, but it definitely is good. Definitely high quality, and I'm probably going to pick up the other ones if I can ever get to beating this one. Okay, next game, Doom 64. Now, I bought this. This was an example of a game that I got with multiple. When I got the Nintendo 64 on Black Friday at Game on Miller Place, I bought multiple games for the system, and I was originally just going to open them up on Christmas. That was the deal I made with my mom. If I bought the system, I'd open it up on Christmas, and I ended up opening it up like 2 weeks before Christmas. She let me, and this is the first game I got. This is the first game I ever got in the Doom franchise, so it turned me onto the game, and as much as I love the game now, this is the reason for it. This is probably my favorite in the classic Doom series. I bought it on PC, and then I also bought it on the Nintendo Switch, so I've loved this game for a long time now. I haven't beaten it yet. I'm currently trying to. Then again, I haven't played it in a while, so I'm on and off trying to beat it. It's a great game. If you're into the classic Doom franchise and you have a Nintendo 64, this was exclusive to the 64. It's somewhere in between Doom 1 and Doom 2. The graphics are great. It's honestly amazing. Go for it. Okay. This one is for the Atari 2600, and it's Kaboom. Now, when I got the 2600, it was my grandpa's. He gave me a few of the games for the system, along with a few of the controllers, and there was paddle controllers, you know, the little turning ones, the regular joystick one. I had a few others too. I already forgot which ones they were, but I saw this, and I got a few other games with it, but it was the first one I played. I needed to use that little controller that you twisted and turned, because it was like a scrolling kind of game. I got into this game a lot, and I played it so much, and tried beating world record. Didn't beat world record, but I tried, because at one point I had one of the highest scores for a game on the App Store called Flappy Fall, which was basically based on this game, and it was also based off of Flappy Bird, but it had a gameplay style that was similar to this, to where you had a bird and to where you had a nest and you had to catch all the birds flying down, and as rounds would go on, the patterns of the birds coming down would be more complicated. This is the same kind of concept. I got this, fell in love with it, and my controller was a little messed up, so that probably affected this a little bit, but this was a fun game for me to play. Okay, next one is the Sega Genesis, and we're going to be talking about Sonic 2. I've covered this game before, and it's one of my favorite games for the system. It's one of my favorite games of all time. It was my first game on the system along with Mortal Kombat, and I don't remember if I got Mortal Kombat 2 the same day or I got it a different day, but all I know is this was the first game that I played out of the few because I really wanted to try and see how the Sonic games were, because I had played Sonic 1 on the Game Boy, because I had Sonic the Hedgehog, the port that was on the GBA. So I played this one, fell in love with it immediately. I couldn't get past the first two levels the first two worlds for a really long time. But I ended up eventually grinding this out, beating the game, and I fell in love with it altogether. Pick it up. Okay. Next game was for the NES. Like I said before in my other video, the NES was my uncle's system. So there were already many games that were handed down to me as it was. But the first game that I got for it, as soon as I saw it on the shelf after playing it at Game on Miller Place, was Gunsmoke. I love this game a lot. You play as like a cowboy kind of dude, and you play through levels. You got guys coming at you at all times. You can either just increase your score and keep trying to get your high score on one level, or you can keep doing all the little side things and get to the next levels and eventually beat the game while your score is going down every time you purchase items. Now, this is a great game. I love it a lot. This is probably my favorite game on the system. Okay, this one is for the 3DS. I'm going out of order a little bit, but I'm just getting based on how I stacked it. Omega Ruby. Now, this game, the original game, Pokemon Ruby, Sapphire, and Emerald, that entire series of games, it was my favorite Pokemon game series of all time. So, after getting Pokemon Sun and Moon, getting back into the Pokemon series because Pokemon Go got me to try the game out again, I fell in love with Sun and Moon. I picked up this game immediately and beat it within a day because I had already memorized the map. I loved it so much. I really feel like they added much more in this game, and they added necessary stuff to be added on top of what was already in Emerald, Ruby, and Sapphire. I think this did the game justice. I feel like this was a perfect way to recreate the story. It was amazing. I will always love this game. Already 6 minutes in, damn. Definitely gonna need a part 2. Okay. Next game was for the PS Vita, and I got 2 games that day, but this happened to be the one I played first, because the other game, the reason I got the Vita was so when I went to Italy, and I was on a plane, I would make sure that I had something to keep me going for an 8-hour plane flight, because I didn't want to, be bored out of my mind for 8 hours. So I bought Uncharted Golden Abyss, and I bought Black Ops Declassified. Now, this game itself, I really don't know why they didn't include a zombies mode. It's a Black Ops game. They really had no excuse to not. As fun as it was playing some of the campaign, as it was, like some of the little missions that they had you doing, the multiplayer was a lot of fun. It definitely was a lot of fun. And playing against bots in this game was also a lot of fun too, doing like the modes where you go up against a certain amount of enemies and then each round goes by, each wave, getting up to wave 10. This was a fun-ass game, but it just was so lackluster too that I feel like it's not worth the purchase. I hate to say it. It was fun, but probably not worth it. Okay, next game is for the Nintendo Switch. I had the system for a while. Every game I was getting, considering the games were so expensive, were for my birthday or for Christmas or whatever. But on one day on Black Friday, I was at GameStop in Pennsylvania with my girlfriend and her family, and I looked around and I saw LA Noire. Now, I know this is... LA Noire. I know I mumbled a little bit, but this game was awesome. I know it came out in the 360, the PS3 before that, and it was remastered for next-gen consoles. Now, this was a great game. It was a great port. The frame rate was kind of all over the place, and the visuals were kind of shitty, but it was basically like you were playing the other game. I loved the story of this game. I feel like there was so much that Rockstar did, and honestly, it was pretty cool playing from a cop's perspective rather than the criminal at a time. This is such a great game. I definitely recommend checking it out. This is more than worth it. Okay, for the Wii U, Mass Effect 3. Now, the Wii U is my brother's system, my youngest brother, Joseph. We got in the system because he was getting to the point where we felt like he was old enough to have his own system. I had the Xbox One at that point. My brother Peter had a PS4. He was playing on a computer that barely was able to handle Minecraft, so we thought, hey, let's get him a Wii U. He got a bunch of games. He almost never played them. We got him as a surprise. He almost never played the system. I think I played it more than he did at that point. And at one point, he gave it to me, and we built him a gaming PC. So the first game I ever bought on the system was Mass Effect 3. I haven't played through much of this. I did play some of Mass Effect 2, not too much of it, but this game looks pretty good so far. I'm pretty sure people have reviewed Mass Effect 2 to be the better game. I didn't get much into this to talk about it, but this is just the game that I'm showing that I got first. Okay, we're approaching almost 10 minutes. So, I got this in a custom case from Game On. I went in after getting some money from my family, and I thought, what should I get? I went around and I saw a Dreamcast, and I had always wanted a Dreamcast. I had held off buying one for like 3 years at that point. So I went in and I'm like, fuck it, I'm going to buy a Dreamcast today. So I wasn't just going to walk out without a game. So I got Tomb Raider: The Last Revelation. And I wish I can say good things about this game because I'm a fan of the Tomb Raider franchise. And I know this is dated. This game was not good. I'm sorry. I've tried playing it. Although the story was decent, the freaking controls of it sucked. Have fun trying to move around in this game. It is the worst chore possible. Moving left or right is impossible. You gotta move the character around. This is seriously like a terrible game to play for the Tomb Raider series. I wish this would have been optimized a lot better. I believe I have this game on the PC as well, but I haven't played it. So, unfortunately, this is my first game, and it did not leave a good impression on me. I ended up actually figuring out that my system was able to play backups because it was the model that you were able to do that on, and I ended up just playing backups off of CDs that I had, and I ended up also buying Sonic Adventure, a physical copy of that. Okay, so the next game we'll talk about is for the GameCube. Now, I had the system it was the first system that I had that me and my brother shared, and my family had gotten us a bunch of games. I was young, so I wasn't buying my own games. You know, I didn't make money. I didn't have a job. There was no way for me to really have done it, and I didn't really get an allowance growing up. It wasn't that kind of thing that I had with my parents, so I didn't really get games. I would just ask for them once in a while. I get them, but after a while, I had played the Lord of the Rings franchise, and my dad, I've mentioned in another video, my dad took the game away from me, the Two Towers away from me, because it was too violent. Eventually, after being old enough to play the game again, him giving me it back and playing it, I beat the game, and then I bought the Return of the King. This is a great game. I have not played through the whole thing yet, but it has improved so much on the Two Towers. It had better graphics, better gameplay. I believe the frame rate was even smoother. It had more playable characters. It had a great story. It's a great continuation to the Two Towers. I really feel like this was a great add-on. I haven't played through the whole thing, so I can't say that it's my favorite. I can't say I liked it better than Two Towers. Two Towers plays a much bigger place in my heart. I also have this game on the Xbox, by the way. But unfortunately, I didn't beat this whole thing. Okay, so I'm probably going to do one more, and then I'm going to save the next for part 2, which I'm going to upload on the same day, just at 2 different parts. Alright, last game I'm going to talk about until the part 2 is Destiny for the Xbox One. So, when buying the console, I was walking to GameStop. I hadn't had the Xbox One yet. I didn't have it. I wasn't even sure if I was going to be getting it because I had just built a PC. I asked for the Xbox One for my birthday. My dad was getting all crazy, saying, "You just got a PC. Why do you want an Xbox One?" And at the time, this was still when Microsoft was releasing exclusives, not on the PC, but just to the Xbox One. So I was saying justifying because I would like the console. I thought it looked awesome. It had some great exclusives on it. And Destiny was one of those games that was console exclusive, and I wanted to buy the system specifically to play that game. I had it on the 360 first. My friend let me borrow his game, and then I ended up buying the Xbox One version to play for myself. This was a great game. I had a lot of fun with it. I originally had this without the DLC, and I never got the DLC on Xbox One, so I played the standalone game for quite a long time, playing Rage with my friends, even when I didn't have the DLCs. So, it was a fun game. Eventually, when the PS4 came out, Black Friday, there was a Black Friday deal for the Black Ops 3 edition, and it came with Destiny of the Taken King. So it came with Destiny plus the Taken King and every other expansion that had come out at the time. So ultimately, I had switched over to the PS4 and didn't get to get my Warlock, I think I had at the time, to max level on the Xbox One. Anyway, guys, I'm going to make a part 2 next. Thank you for watching this video. I hope you will tune into the next one. Hey guys, this is the part 2 to the episode that I was creating for the highlight of my collection. And what I was talking about was the first game that I had bought for myself for each of the systems that I have. Now, I'm going to explain the rules real fast, just like I did in the last video. For this video, I'm talking about games that I spent with my own money, not games that someone got me. And if for some reason I bought multiple games in one day for the system, whether I got it because I got the console and then bought multiple games for it on that day, I'm going to be talking about the game that I played first out of that. So the first game I'm going to talk about right now is for the PS4, and that is Uncharted 4. On Christmas Day, I got a bunch of games from my family and the PS4, and I got the Nathan Drake collection, and I was asking for Uncharted 4 as well because I wanted to play the game after beating the collection because I knew that the series was supposed to be really good. And since I was a Tomb Raider fan, I knew I was going to get right into it and probably beat them pretty fast. So after not getting Uncharted 4 for Christmas, I had some money left over and ended up buying this game the same day. I actually bought it on Christmas, believe it or not. And I played through the game, and let's say I don't regret spending my own money on this. I would spend $100 on this if I had to. It was so good, guys. It really was. This was a great continuation on the story from Uncharted 1 through 3. It really was awesome. I can't say enough about this game. It had the best graphics out of a PS4 game, in my opinion, that I've played. It played the best. It really was an awesome game. And on top of that, they also kind of changed up the game mechanics in it a little bit. They kind of changed, obviously the engine was different, but they changed a lot, and I feel like this was a great story. I would hope eventually that there's going to be a sequel to the Uncharted series. I know they made Lost Legacy, and that was kind of just like an add-on kind of game, but I hope that one day they will make a sequel to this. Maybe with somebody who is a hair of Nathan Drake, to where they kind of make it not futuristic, but in a future timeline with someone who is a hair of Nathan Drake. That would be awesome. I would love to see that, no matter what kind of protagonist they use. I would love to see another addition to this game. Okay, next one was for the 360. I had the 360 for quite a long time. I had some of the Guitar Hero games for the system, but I didn't buy the games for myself. I had them from family members, and games that I did buy for Guitar Hero, I bought later on. After I got the 360, I had Call of Duty Ghosts with it. My family got me that game. I was playing it a lot. My friends told me, hey, this is the first multiplayer game that you've played for a Call of Duty game. It's a little weird because the maps are kind of big. Maybe you should try doing something a little easier before jumping onto Ghosts and getting my ass handed to me. Because basically, I'd go on the game, I'd go like 1 in 44. My team would want to kill me, and my friend would be like chanting whenever I got 1 kill. It was embarrassing. So I bought MW2, and I do not regret buying this. I bought MW3 on the same day. I bought the 2 games, and later on I bought MW1, but that was like 2 years in. I beat all the campaigns of the Modern Warfare series, minus the new one that they came out with on the Xbox One, PS4, and PC. This game was incredible. It had a great multiplayer maps. It had an awesome single-player campaign, one of the best in my opinion. I love the story of Ghost, Captain Price, soap. You drop the soap, you pay the price. You know what they say. But I love this game so much, and I'm so happy that they remastered it, by the way. It really deserved the remaster. I hope MW3 gets remastered next, but definitely a great game. Okay, now I already talked about getting this game on the GameCube. I ended up getting it again later on for the original Xbox. The original Xbox was originally my dad's system. I had once the disk drive stopped working, he put the system in a box in the basement, in the original box that he had for it, and I decided to go down there one day to see if the system was still there. It was there. I plugged it in. For some reason, it only played 2 games, and that was Tomb Raider Legend and MX Unleashed. It would not play anything else, and there was nothing wrong with the disc. There was something wrong with the reader. I don't know why I was only playing those 2 games, but that's what was happening. I eventually bought this game for the system, and it didn't run on the system, which is why I bought it on the GameCube later. when I got this game, it just didn't run, so I didn't get to experience it. I probably will play it again soon, considering that I got into the Lord of the Rings franchise a lot more, other than just playing the games, watching the movies. I'm going to start reading the book series very soon, and yeah, this game is pretty good. I played through most of it on the GameCube. I'd like to finish it up, hopefully. Okay, so this one is for the Saturn, and it's not necessarily a game, but I have yet to buy an actual Saturn game. I have the action replay for the Saturn flashed basically to have pseudo Saturn on it to play backups, because let's face it, these games are so expensive and so hard to collect for if you don't have a ton of income to support it. So I played mainly backups on the system, but the Saturn that I got on eBay for $70 right before right before the shutdown, or it might have been during, but it was like right in the very beginning of the shutdown. So I was very lucky to get it for the price it was, because everywhere else I was looking, it was over $100. My retro game store had it for $120. Some seller on the Facebook Marketplace sold it for $70. And the reason I got the sampler disc with it, he sold it with it, and why I was happy to get it is because you needed to do the swap disc trick in order to mod the Saturn to play the backups on it. So I have yet to play this at all. I really just used it to be able to do the backups on the Saturn. So I don't know anything about it, but that's just something to talk about, I guess. Okay, so I'm going to talk about two systems, because I got this exact same game for both of the systems as the first ones I got. So that's Guitar Hero 3. So for the Guitar Hero 3 on the Wii, I had the Wii for a long time before that. I had started getting into Guitar Hero a lot more again. I was playing Guitar Hero World Tour every single day, trying to get my ability up to play on Expert. I eventually was able to play Expert on most songs pretty fast. I wanted to improve my playing, so I got the harder game, Guitar Hero 3, which had a much harder set of songs. Through the Fire and Flames was on there, and all my friends would always talk about it, so I thought, you know what, I'm going to get this game. I finally had bought it with money that I had. I don't remember if I bought it in 5th grade, or later on I bought it once the first disc I had broke, but I do remember buying the game for very cheap. I think I bought it for like $3 at GameStop. And it's one of the games of my childhood, honestly. In 5th grade, I still consider childhood, so this is a big one for me. And then when I got the PS3, since I had many games that I got from PlayStation Plus giving me free games, I didn't buy any physical games for a long time until I was at a retro game store, and I wanted to get Guitar Hero 3 for every system that I had. So I found it, got it. Same situation. This is a better version than the Wii version. It's slightly more forgiving. It's a lot like the 360 version. There was better multiplayer servers. There was better graphics. The controller felt better, at least before I started modding Wii guitars to make them feel better. But this is a good game. I've already talked enough about it. Okay, now I'm down to my last two games, and the first one is for the PS1. Okay, so I didn't own a PS1 until very recently, but I got this when I started collecting for PS2. So, it's Spyro. Now, this is also in a reproduction case. Game On was nice enough to make one, and I decided to buy this game. I played through a decent amount of it, not a whole lot, but a decent amount. I find this game very nice. I love that they made the Reignited trilogy for the PS4 and at such a cheap price too, but there's nothing like going back to the classic, playing it on the original system, or playing it on the PS2 or PS3 where the game still, shows its age. It's a great game for a great system. I'm pretty sure anybody who had a PlayStation has heard of this. If you haven't heard of it, check it out. If you are looking to get into collecting, have this be one of your first. It's a fun game. It's rated E for everybody, so anybody can play this game. If you want to get it for your kids who you want to show a history lesson to, it's a great idea. Okay. The last game on my list would be Guitar Hero 2 for the PS2. Now, when collecting for the Guitar Hero series, there were many games that were exclusive to the PS2. So, in order to get every game, I had to get a PS2. I had gotten a guitar from, I don't remember where, but it was like at some place where it was just on a shelf collecting dust. It was about $2. It was this piece of crap guitar. The strum bar felt like garbage. The frets felt like garbage. But after getting the guitar, not knowing what system it was for, I eventually figured out it was the PS2 guitar, and I wanted to get the PS2 to finally get these games. The day I got this game, I had also gotten Guitar Hero 80s and Guitar Hero 1 because they came in a trilogy bundle, and this was the first one I played. Immediately after getting it, I went into playing Soy Bomb and got my first FC off of the game in minutes. This is a great game to play on the system. It is one of my favorite Guitar Hero games of all time. It has a very unforgiving engine, and the song Trogdor on NTSC is theoretically un-FCable, but if you have the PAL version, or you want to use swap magic to convert the signal to PAL so you can play the PAL version of this game, you are likely to... It is very hard, but you can still FC the song. Anyway, guys, this video came out to be over 20 minutes long altogether because I had the 2 parts. I hope you enjoyed watching this video, and I will see you guys in the next one where I'll be talking about new things. Hey guys, what's going on? This is the next episode of the highlights of my collection series I've been doing, and today we're going to be talking about the Nintendo Switch. Now, due to me not having so many games for the system, I've decided to pull out every single game that I have for the system and talk about it. So today we're going to be talking about highlights and the downsides. I don't have many downsides because most of the games I have for the system are very good in my opinion. Most of my games are physical. I have maybe 2 or 3 digital games, but that was just due to them being on the store where they're really cheap. This is also the first generation where I had a job and I was able to make money to buy my own games and not have to wait for holidays. So with that being said, a lot of Switch games don't really go down in value. They generally stay the same amount for all the time that they're out. I mean, I haven't seen Breath of the Wild drop below $60 ever, and I think maybe I did see it drop below it once on like a sale, but other than that, these games do not really lose value. So in terms of these games, I haven't bought a ton because it's a lot of money, and since I'm buying them myself for the most part, I'd have to wait for most games for Christmas. And where all that money goes is pretty much to retro games, since they're a lot cheaper to go for, or Xbox One and PS4 games that have been out for 2 years that I can get really cheap. So I'm going to start talking about highlights first. Alright. LA Noire. Now, I do not have the original box for this because I got this at GameStop during Black Friday of last year. This game was incredible. It obviously came out on the 360 and the PS3 beforehand, and it was a great game. Now, it also came out remastered on the Xbox One, PS4, and I think it came out on the PC as well, but I can't remember. I do know it came out on the Switch, obviously, because I have it in my hands, but this is more or less the Xbox 360/PS3 port. I do believe that this looks slightly visually better, but in my opinion, I feel the frame rate is a little all over the place in this version. So it's a great game, great story. I liked and hated the main character. I feel like, although I wasn't a fan of him, I feel like they did a good job making the story for the game. They made you kind of relate to the character and then not relate to the character, and they made him human. So, in my opinion, great game. Okay, next game I'm going to talk about is Doom. Now, I have no idea how they were possibly able to get this game to run on a handheld in 2016. I think it came out, it did come out in 2016. And this game, man, is insane. I played this on the PC, and I loved it on the PC. I beat it on Nightmare on PC. It only plays in 30 FPS on the Switch version, and I believe it's lower than high definition on it as well. In fact, the port of this has lower graphics than the lowest possible settings on the PC port, so that just goes to show that they really cranked everything down to get this to run. On top of that, it only ran at 30 FPS. Now, in my opinion, this is not the definitive edition of the game. This is nowhere near it. It doesn't even have the maps that you can download and everything, at least to my knowledge. I don't know if they added anything more ever since I played it last, but last I saw, they just had the multiplayer and the campaign, or they might have just had the campaign, I don't remember. But they didn't have the downloadable maps like they did on the PC, and I'm pretty sure the Xbox and PS4 had them. I don't know. This game was a really great port of it, though, and I give Panic Button credit for being able to get a game like this. This is my favorite game so far of the console generation. So, I love it a lot. Definitely get this game if you have a Switch. If you play the PC version, yes, you'll be losing a lot in terms of visual fidelity and just the fact that you're playing on Joy-Cons or a Pro Controller at 30 FPS. But yeah, I definitely get this game if you have a Switch. It's a fun little shoot 'em up, and this game is honestly amazing. Next game Oh boy, this one's a big one. Super Mario Odyssey. This game is what intrigued me to get the Switch. I saw Breath of the Wild, and I thought the game looked amazing, but I still wasn't sure if the game was great yet when I saw the trailers, because I wasn't a Zelda person in the past. But immediately seeing this game, I thought, holy shit, this game is going to be incredible. And what do you know? It was really good. I think I was up to the last Bowser boss, and I know there was more you can do in the game to get more stars and everything and all that, but I'm not that type of player who really does all the collectibles in-game, so I'm just looking to beat it. From what I've played so far, it is amazing. The graphics are incredible. I am so happy that they got this on the Switch. I think it would have been cool if they got it on the Wii U as well, but obviously they wanted people to jump on the system. So this was great. Honestly, one of the best Mario games I've ever played, and I know this is a little controversial. I liked it better than Mario 64. I never played Sunshine, and I hope maybe somewhere down the line they'll make the 3D All-Stars collection and add this in. I know that they're making the All-Stars collection and just adding in all the other 3D games, and in my opinion, it's a little annoying considering they're not remastering them and they're making the game $60 for just recycled games. I really wish they would have added this on there. I know that's dumb, but just remember, on the Super Nintendo, for the Mario All-Stars, on one of the cartridges, they did add Super Mario World, so that's just something to note. Great game. A must-buy for the system, in my opinion. I'm going to be saying in my opinion a lot. Alright, so this is a remastered game, more like a remade game. It's pretty much the same thing as the other one. I didn't play it growing up. I actually played the SpongeBob movie, but SpongeBob Battle for the Bikini Bottom, Rehydrated. This is an incredible game. Now, they didn't really change much up, and I feel like the graphics they kind of made for it were a little weird compared to how they looked on the GameCube, Xbox, PS2, whatever. The game has been a lot of fun for me so far. My girlfriend got this for my birthday for me, and you know, I can't really complain because they kind of released it at a pretty cheap price. It came out, I'm pretty sure it was like $30 when it came out, so that's good. It's not like they're touting this as a whole new game. This is the same game, just with some little things added, and honestly, it's a lot of fun, and this was a really fun revisit of my childhood. I loved SpongeBob growing up. I still love SpongeBob. It's fun playing the SpongeBob games. This is one of the highlights of it. Okay, now, Bethesda has pretty much put this on everything, and I wouldn't be surprised if they put it on a toaster. Haha, original joke. Skyrim. Now, this game is incredible on anything that I've played it on. I actually have it on 360 PC, and I rebought it on the Switch. I never got to beating it because it's a pretty damn big game, and it just didn't keep me... It didn't have something that kept me playing for so long, so I kind of have just been, like, going back to it, not going back to it, coming back and forth. Yeah, it's one of those things. Honestly, to me, this is one of the greatest games of all time. It's amazing. I'm pretty sure it's one of the highest rated games by IGN. It is an incredible game. You know, it's got a giant open world, great powers you can unlock, choices of which abilities you want to progress in, what kind of characters, models. They've got a lot of choice, and this is a huge map. I know Breath of the Wild is bigger than this, but this is still a great game, and I'm happy that they ported it over. This is, honestly, in my opinion, the definitive version of Skyrim. I know it's not the best graphically. It's not the best graphically compared to the Xbox and PlayStation and PC version, but in my opinion, being able to get this game on the go, and the fact that it runs in 30 FPS just like the Xbox and PlayStation anyway, you might as well get this version. Who cares about the newer graphics? This is a portable version of Skyrim, guys. This is incredible. Okay, so my last highlight is a pretty obvious one, and probably my favorite game on the system, Breath of the Wild. So I haven't beaten this game yet. I'm actually playing it currently. I know I've been saying that a lot lately, but I've been playing this one a lot today. It is a great game. You know, it gave me a kind of little thing towards Skyrim. It reminded me of Skyrim is what I'm trying to say. And I think that's what got me into it, because I didn't really like the Ocarina of Time when I played it back then. I'm appreciating it more now. And I didn't like Majora's Mask back then. I'm appreciating, you know, the games now. But this game is what got me into the Zelda franchise. It was the first game I got for the system. My mom got me the Switch for my birthday in 2016 when it came out. You know, we spent $400 on it. I paid some, she paid some, whatever it was. We got it when it was out everywhere, and I had to pay an extra $100 if I wanted to get my hands on it. So yeah, this is an incredible game. I've loved it so far. Even being the first game I've played on the Switch, this is still my favorite game. I can't wait for the Hyrule Warriors game that's going to be coming out. It's going to be insane. I love this game so much. This is my favorite game on the system. I'm still playing it. I will review it once I'm done playing it, but so far, I got to give this like a 9 out of 10. It's a great game. only thing I can take away from it is just the fact that the weapons constantly break, and that's really fucking annoying. But incredible game. Definitely a must-buy for this system. I'm not kidding. Okay, now we get to my last two games, which I consider pretty trashy games. And I hate to say it, because for both of these games, I grew up with them, and I have loved the franchises of them my entire life. So the first one I'm going to talk about is Sonic Forces. This, honestly, I don't know why Sega has been releasing bullshit 3D games. I don't understand how it's possible that a game from the 90s is still their best 3D Sonic game. Sonic Adventure 1 and 2 are still the best 3D Sonic games that have come out so far. It's really annoying, and this game just, I don't know, man. It didn't have enough to where I wanted to come back and play it again. I sat down, played this for probably 3 to 4 hours, and I beat it in one sitting. It was not a hard game. It was very, very easy. It didn't really have a climax. The story sucked. The gameplay sucked. It was like you were playing a mobile game, like Subway Surfers, basically. It just was not good. And I love the art design of this. In fact, I have the stickers on my Switch. But the game itself just was not good. I hate saying that as a major Sonic fan. I love the Genesis, the Dreamcast. I even have a fucking Saturn, and that was one of the worst of the systems. But I love Sonic, and I hate this, man. It's just hard to talk about. Alright, I'm going to have to put this one down. Alright, so the last one hurts me even more to talk about because I grew up on this series, and this was also one of the first games I ever played, ever. Pokemon, guys. I'm going to have to talk about Pokemon. Man, this was trash. Oh, man. The game had no character. I know they've been trying to make, the antagonist or / your ally kind of like this dude from Pokemon Sun, because a lot of people received him well, but it just was not good. They just made everything too repetitive and annoying. You knew what was going to happen. There were no major plot twists. The story itself just really was not that great. It honestly, to me, was just a BS game that Nintendo threw out there just because they knew that people would buy it for the sake of it being a Pokemon game, and the first real Pokemon game coming out on the Switch after the 3DS lineup. On top of that, the graphics looked like they could have been released on the 3DS. It's like, what the hell was Nintendo doing when they released this game? It really was not good. I'm sorry. I love Pokemon. I played every single main series Pokemon game minus X and Y, and this is just honestly the worst of them. I miss the days of Emerald, Ruby, and Sapphire being incredible, and Diamond, Pearl, and Platinum being incredible. Heart Gold and Soul Silver, man, those games were incredible. And Sun and Moon, man, there has not been a good Pokemon game since Sun and Moon came out, and it's so upsetting. I didn't play Let's Go Eevee or Let's Go Pikachu, and I heard those games weren't that great either. It was more like a Pokemon Go kind of game, but man, I hate talking about this game. It really it was not great. I did play through the whole thing, and, some of the Pokemon are interesting, but I don't know, man. This game turned me off real bad. It was not that great of a game, and normally what I do is I beat the first one, and then I get the second one, because they normally release 2 of the games out at once. Like, I was going to get Sword after Shield, but I can't. I can't buy it again. I can't play this game again. I would buy the game and it'd be sitting on my shelf because I do not want to play this game again. It was not like when I had Pokemon Pearl and I wanted to play Diamond after because the game was so good I wanted to replay it, or when I got Platinum because I was basically replaying it, or Black and White and, Emerald, Ruby, and Sapphire, man. It's just not the same thing. This has no replayability to me. I feel like it was just rushed out. It was low quality, and man, I can shit on this game all day. I think I gave this game a 4 out of 10 when I reviewed it on RG Games 112. I hate to leave everything off on a negative note, but thank you guys for watching this video. I did have a lot of good things to say about my positive stuff, and like I said, these games, the positive ones, are honestly some of my favorite games of all time. Breath of the Wild is definitely in my top 10 spot of favorite games of all time. Mario Odyssey is definitely up there as well. It's probably my favorite Mario game I ever played. Skyrim is a great open world game, one of my favorites too. Still, SpongeBob, Battle for Bikini Bottom goes and hits a place in my childhood. LA Noire gives me GTA vibes, and Doom was my favorite game of this generation. So, thank you guys for watching this video. I will definitely talk to you guys in the next one. Hey guys, what's going on? This is my next episode of my series that I like to call Highlights of My Collection, and today we're going to be talking about the Nintendo 64. This is a little bit of weird timing that I'm talking about this console after I just went on a crazy rave about how they're anti-consumer. It's always fun nonetheless to go back and look at the history of these consoles though, and talk about my collection and how it reflects on me. When talking about the Nintendo 64, this is one console that I don't really favor too much, but nonetheless I feel like it had some great quality for a system that had a lot of drawbacks. For one, it didn't have CDs, it was cartridge based, so they were very limited to the third-party support, and for games that can fit on the cartridge, so it really was held back by those cartridges, because if they would have had CDs, this game console would have been an absolute powerhouse, more than it already was. On top of that, the controller was kind of weird, so a lot of these games I don't play all the time because I get frustrated with them since I hate playing with the N64 controller. It's not the worst controller of all time, but it's my least favorite controller of all time. So, with all that being said, I'm going to talk about my collection. It's very small, and today I'm just going to talk about every game that I have rather than bringing highlights, because it is a small collection. If I talked about my highlights, I'd have about probably 3 minutes worth of video content. So I'm going to talk about each one of my games and how they pertain to me. So I'm going to talk about the first 4 games that I got for the system, and I'm going to talk about them and how I enjoyed them. So, going from least favorite to favorite, I'm going to talk about these 2 Star Wars games. Now, these don't really differ from each other that much. One of them is Shadow of the Empire, one of them is Rogue Squadron. They're both ship-based Star Wars games. They both controlled pretty similarly. They both were pretty advanced graphics for their time. They ran great, but just like most Nintendo 64 games, they look outdated to this day, and they control pretty outdated to this day. I love these games and I do play them once in a while, but I never really sat down and played these for hours, nor played through them. I kind of just played them little bits at a time. These are very fun games to play, and plus they're Star Wars titles, so you can't really go wrong with those. There are many good Star Wars titles on the generations of these consoles. You know, I would love to go and collect more of these. Okay, next game I'm going to talk about is Donkey Kong 64. This is a game that requires the I think it was the booster pack. I can't remember the exact name of it, but not the booster, the expansion pack for the Nintendo 64. This is one of the only games that actually required it. The reason they needed it was to fix a game-breaking glitch that developers were too lazy to fix on their main console, so they just added the more RAM and fixed it off of that. This game itself is pretty good. In my opinion, it's really not as outdated as some of the other ones. It controls fine, it looks alright, and honestly, if it was just put on, you know, a console and just upscaled a bit, the game would look just fine. It is a little hard for me to play. I'm not very good at it, but it's definitely treated me with some memories. This game wasn't part of my childhood because I didn't get the Nintendo 64 till I think 2015, but this was one of my highlights. I really like this game. Okay, so now I'm going to talk about Doom 64. Now, this is my favorite port of the classic Doom for anything. Well, not favorite port. This is my favorite version of the classic Doom. I did play all the Doom ports, all the Doom classic games. I love them a lot, but by far, this was my favorite. However, this is my least favorite platform to play it on. Back when I had this game, I couldn't really play through it on the Nintendo 64 because it was just dark in every area and I couldn't see what the hell was going on. I was trying to figure out where I was going, but everything was so dark, blurry, the controller was all weird. I couldn't enjoy the game that much. Luckily for me, this game got released on PC and the current gen platform. So I played this on the PC, which in my opinion is the best version. I also played it on the Switch, which runs really well as well. I love this game. It's my favorite in the Doom Classic franchise. It's the first game that got me into it's actually the game that got me into the Doom franchise, and which also got me into the Quake franchise, so on and so forth. This is one of my favorite games of all time. Okay, next game we're going to talk about is Perfect Dark. This is a great example of a game that was amazing for its time, but is extremely dated nowadays. It's a first-person shooter game. I haven't really gotten into the story too much. I haven't gotten into it that much. I think I only got past the first 2 levels of it. I haven't played much of it. What I do know is this is basically a sequel to GoldenEye. It was a successor to that. I never got to play GoldenEye, unfortunately. I would like to play that eventually, but this is a pretty good game, and if you're getting a Nintendo 64, this is definitely a game to look for. So, with all that being said, great game. Next game is my second to last. Like I said before, I have a pretty small collection, so I'm just talking about these briefly. Next game in my collection is Tony Hawk Pro Skater. Now, this is another example of a game that I love like crazy, but this is my least favorite platform to play it on. This was the first version of the game that I got, just like Doom 64. This is the first port of the game that I got, because this was the first game, one of the first games I got for the Nintendo 64, I think. I don't know if it was the first 4 that I got, but it was one of the games. This one is a lot of fun. You know, they just remastered this on current gen platforms, which is freaking awesome because this game deserved it. It has a lot of freestyle stuff you can do, a great soundtrack. But the only problem with the soundtrack on the Nintendo 64 is these cartridges only held up to about 64 megabytes. So listening to the soundtrack, you would constantly just hear it loop over and over and over. Not the whole song, a section of the song, and then loop back to the beginning of the section of that song, then back to the beginning of the section for that song, then back to the section, and it would just keep going on in endless loop. This would go on for any song that was included on the cartridge. I think the most frustrating one for me was Jerry Was a Race Car Driver on there, because listening to that and a crazy loop where the solo was just going on, there's so much more elements to the song that I liked, and unfortunately, this game is my least favorite. I played it on the Dreamcast, and that is my favorite version of the game. I have also played it on the PS1 with backups, but the Dreamcast is my favorite version. Although, if you are collecting for the Nintendo 64, you don't have those other systems, definitely pick up this port. It is still fun. If you want to turn off the gameplay, the soundtrack in the background, that's fine. The game still plays the same way as the other ones. Like I said before, though, the controller also makes it a little annoying to control this game, in my opinion. Okay, the last game is one of the expected games that anybody should have in their collection if you own a Nintendo 64, and I'm pretty sure most people would if they had the system. Super Mario 64, the first game that ever came out on the system. If you know about Nintendo 64, you know about this game. If you don't know about Nintendo 64, you still know about this game. It's a great game. You know, it's been brought over a few times to other systems. Now they're bringing it over to the Super Mario 3D All-Stars, which I completely shit on. But this is a great game to play. It is dated in many ways nowadays, but nonetheless, it is still fun to play like crazy. People still speedrun it. There's still an active community for it. It is honestly one of my favorite games and one of my favorites in the Mario franchise. However, I did like some of the other games better than this one, but this is an amazing game to talk about. It's a lot of fun. You know, it's really laid the groundwork for any open world kind of game. I can 100% back that up. With as much as I'm not a big Nintendo 64 guy, I can't deny that this laid the groundwork for games to come. Okay, guys, that is my whole Nintendo 64 collection. I would like to start collecting more for the system, as I love looking at the older stuff and playing them, even if it's on hardware that I can't stand. I'm a big fan of the Sega Saturn as well, even though that had a pretty small library of games, and most of the games not being the best quality either, I still love playing it on the system. It's my favorite system to play those games on. Anyway, guys, thank you for watching this video. I will see you in the next one. Hey guys, what's going on? This is the next episode to the highlights of my collection series that I'm doing, but this is kind of a bit of a different one. So what I'm going to be doing is covering my digital games highlights right now. So the console I'm going to be talking about specifically right now is the Xbox One. Now for this system, I got a lot of games due to having Xbox Gold for a decent amount of time and getting those free games. Unfortunately, for the past 2 years, I haven't had Xbox Gold. I decided not to stick with it because I just simply haven't been playing enough online games, and I wasn't playing video games for some time. Plus, I was going back to more retro gaming and collecting physical copies of most of the games. Some games digital that I also have physical, and that goes for the same on the PS4 and PC. So, without further ado, I'm going to start talking about the games right here. Now, one of the surprising picks on my list is actually Goat Simulator. Now, this is a pretty funny one to talk about because this game is kind of just a casual game that's meant for kids. It's really a lot of fun, and I put a lot of time into just playing it, free playing it. It's just a lot of fun. It's just fun once in a while when you get into just going around as a goat, destroying things, picking fights with other goats, and just constantly going around and destroying things as a goat. I just think it's the funniest thing. I love the game. I will continue to play the game. I haven't played the game in about 3 years due to the fact that since my gold membership has expired, I can't play these games I got free with gold. So that's pretty unfortunate. For some reason, my 360 games still work, though, but I can't play the Xbox One games because it says I don't own them. So it is what it is. All right. Next game on my list is probably my favorite game that came out on the system ever. So this is Quantum Break, and I feel like this is extremely underrated. Yes, the gameplay was a little bit weird compared to some other third-person shooter games, but I personally love the hell out of this game. I got it on the day it came out, and since I bought it as the digital title on Xbox One, I also got the port on PC. That's not saying the PC port was good at all. In the beginning stages of the game, you weren't getting above 50 FPS, which was kind of weird for a game that on PC you would expect to get at least 60. On top of that, the PC port really didn't look much better than the Xbox One version. Even when I had the settings cranked up all the way, it really didn't look much different. It is a great game. However, it had a great story. This is a great example of a game that just had an incredible story. I wish they would have added to this game and had a sequel later on. I know they broke part with making exclusive deals for Xbox, this company, because it was known at the time that Xbox was treating them pretty shitty. So that's pretty unfortunate, but this game was very good, and in my opinion, it was incredible. It actually is probably one of the best looking games that came out this generation. This was one of the first games that made me go, holy fuck, this is real. This is real life graphics. Where it's not there yet, it is pretty damn close to it. This game is one of those examples. Okay, so the next game I'm going to talk about is the Walking Dead franchise. Now, I have some of these physical and some of them digital, but I'm just going to talk about it all together. You start off as Lee, eventually shifting towards Clementine, and then towards another guy in the third game, which I already forgot the name of him because I really forgot most of Season 3. And Season 3 didn't really pertain much to Season 4 at all. But the whole quadrilogy, whatever the hell you want to call it, was incredible. I love the games a lot. You know, they were so much fun. I know they were just games that you kind of like played in a movie, and it wasn't really much gameplay, it was more story, but those games took a lot of my time. They gave me a lot of achievements to improve my gamer score, which is one of the biggest reasons why I played through all of them. But really, Telltale did an amazing job when they were still up and running. It's sad that they went down. I would have loved to see them produce more games. It is crazy what they were able to launch. I really wish they would have made a Game of Thrones 2 and a Wolf Among Us 2. Speaking of those two, Wolf Among Us was a very fun game to me. I'm not going to talk too much about it because I don't remember much of it, but it did have a very great story and kind of brought in a lot of fairy tales into one thing, kind of like how Shrek did. But then you got something like Game of Thrones, which I was never a Game of Thrones fan. I just didn't get into it. I didn't have the subscription to the channel to even watch it. Plus, it was weird to me, so I never got into it. I played the Telltale series. It was an incredible game. They really paid good tribute to it. I hated some of the characters in it, but I got a very happy ending. Although it was a sad ending for other people, it was a very happy ending to me. Great game. Telltale fell out with a bang. Okay, so next game I'm going to talk about is Halo, the Master Chief Collection. This was the game that came with my console. I really wish it would have came physical, but unfortunately it came with a digital code. I hate when companies do that. It's really dumb whenever they did that. My brother, when he got his PS4, it came with GTA 5 and The Last of Us. He got a copy of GTA 5, but then he got a code for The Last of Us. That never made sense to me. When he sold his PS4, I wasn't able to play the game, so I had to buy it on the PS3 physically. But the Master Chief Collection was an incredible game. Combining Halo 1, 2, 3, and 4 all together, it really was meant to be a great game. Graphics were incredible. It really was a step up. I loved how you were able to switch between graphics modes from the classic version back to the remastered version. They really paid tribute to these games really well. I wish they would have had reach on it a lot earlier than now. Luckily, these games did come to PC, and I feel like that's the definitive way to play this game, but you're not losing anything by playing this on the Xbox One or the Xbox One X. It really is a great set of games. I love it a lot, and even though I played Halo growing up, I wasn't into it nearly as much as I was after playing it, the Master Chief Collection, having it for my own system, having it be my own game, playing through the campaigns back to back. Great game. I loved it a lot. Okay, what's another game on here to talk about? I already knew what I was talking about and then I forgot. Alright, so next game I'm going to talk about is The Crew. Now, this isn't 100% the best game, but it definitely, I would consider it a highlight. I almost got this on PC when I got my graphics card. I had to choose between that and Far Cry 4 and one other game, but I chose Far Cry 4. I ended up eventually getting The Crew with Xbox Gold, like most of my digital titles on here. The Crew was an incredible game. It really was. It basically, you play it in a story as cars. It's a racing game. I'm not a big racing fan, but this game was a lot of fun. I can't really talk about it much because I forgot. I just remember it being a lot of fun. With that being said, jumping to my next game, Gears of War Ultimate Edition. Now, I loved the entire Gears of War series. I'm currently working on Gears of War 5, but this is the game that got me into it. When I had the Xbox 360, my dad didn't have these type of games, the Gears of War franchise. My friends had them, but I didn't get into them. It wasn't until I got Gears of War Ultimate Edition for Christmas. I got the digital bundle, which came with the whole Gears of War franchise, including Gears of War 1, Gears of War 2, 3, and not 4. 4 wasn't even out yet, but I got that game and played through all of it. Gears of War Ultimate Edition is a great game. In my opinion, Gears of War 2 was my favorite out of the whole bundle that it came with, but Ultimate Edition definitely was an amazing remaster. I love it a lot, and now the original games have Xbox One enhanced graphics, which is incredible. I was really happy they were able to do that. Okay, next game I'm going to talk about is Life is Strange. This was an incredible story game. Just like the Telltale series games, this has a similar kind of thing where you're kind of just playing through like a story-based game. It had 5 episodes, and they were really good episodes. You played as Max. You got to choose many things that affected the end of the game. Obviously, there were 2 endings to the game that I'm not going to discuss, but this game altogether was amazing. The story was very good. I really wish that the Life is Strange 2 was good, but unfortunately, I thought they brought way too much political climate into it. I'm not going to say what my political affiliation was with it, but I feel like it was just too much of a political game. This game was a lot more involved. You really felt like you were with these characters and you can control how they acted. In Life is Strange 2, I feel like you couldn't control how the brother acted at all. He was just a psychopath. This game had a good linear story, in my opinion. And they made a Before the Storm, which I never got to play, but I heard was pretty good as well. Okay, we're getting pretty much towards the end of this. I think I'll talk about one more game. Yeah, okay. So, the last game I'm going to talk about is Sunset Overdrive. This was one of the first games to come to the Xbox One, and one of Xbox's few exclusives. This was an incredible game. If you're into games like Jet Set Radio, or Jet Grind Radio as it is in the States, this game is incredible. It's got good graphics, it's got good gameplay, it's smooth, it's fast. It's anything that you want in a game with that style. I honestly loved it a ton. It was a lot of fun for me. Honestly, guys, the game is a lot of fun. Now, I don't know if there's anything more that I'm going to talk about today. I think that's pretty much it, guys. I think I actually talked about more than what I originally planned. So, that's my whole digital collection that I'm talking about. There's a lot more physical games that I haven't covered because I haven't played yet. But other than that, these are some pretty solid games. I had some of them on PC. There's a lot more digital games I have. And what's sad about not having the subscription is I can't play most of these anymore because most of the games I got were with gold. However, the same goes for the PS4, but I can still play my games on Steam. So, although I can't play them all on Xbox, maybe eventually I'll get my gold membership renewed once I get these consoles. Until then, I'm just going to stick with playing my physical games that I hadn't gotten to yet. Anyway, guys, thank you for watching this video. I will see you all in the next one. Hey guys, what's going on? This is my next episode in my series that I like to call Highlights of My Collection. And in this video, we're going to be talking about the PS4. Last video, I covered the Xbox One, at least the last video I recorded. Today, I'm going to be talking about the PS4. Just like with the Xbox One, there were a lot of games that I had physical, but there were a lot of games I had digital due to having PlayStation Plus. Since I haven't had PlayStation Plus or Xbox Live for the past few years, I have sadly lost access to playing these games until I renew my membership. I'm hoping that when the PS5 comes out, and I do, because I will definitely buy the system, that a lot of these games will be available to play on there. What's awesome about a lot of these games also is some of them were also on stuff like the Vita, and I had a lot of digital Vita games that were a lot of fun too. Unfortunately, there weren't many great games that came when it was free, but, you know, I had a good time with it. So, right now, I'm going to start off. with Just Cause 3. Now, I originally started playing this game on PC because I had a friend that was sharing his Steam library with me, and I got a whole kind of sneak peek of it. Eventually, something happened, and I think I reinstalled Steam for some reason. Something was wrong. I think I might have factory reset my PC for some reason, and I lost his library. We kind of stopped talking after that, not because of that, but we kind of just lost contact. I got the game free with PlayStation Plus and played through a lot of it. This is like GTA on steroids. In my opinion, GTA 5 was still the better game with how much more support Rockstar gave it, but Just Cause 3 was definitely like GTA on steroids. You were able to destroy environments, the story was good, the gameplay was amazing. It's just really something to talk about, man. It's a lot of fun. Okay, next game is also a game I first had on PC, but eventually got it through PS4. I never played it. I think I played it online with my friends a few times, but not very much. It is very much a fun little survival zombie kind of game, and I am all for Call of Duty Zombies, World at War being one of my favorite games with custom zombie maps. I've had so many on there, and I've just had so much fun with that kind of stuff. Killing Floor 2 is definitely my type of game. Alright, I already covered Life is Strange in the Xbox One video, so I'm not going to talk about it, but I am going to say that I played it on the PS4 as well, and it was worth playing. If you have a PS4, go for it. Next one is Metal Gear Solid 5, The Phantom Pain. I played Ground Zeroes on Xbox One, not all of it, but a decent amount of it, and then on the PS4, I played The Phantom Pain. I didn't play all of it either. The graphics are incredible, the gameplay is incredible, the story is incredible. I haven't played through all of it, but it's one of those games that you really got to go for. Metal Gear Solid is Metal Gear Solid, and they've never failed to make a good game, in my opinion. I haven't gotten into the franchise as much as the Metal Gear Solid, PlayStation 1 fans and everything, but, it's a good franchise I like to eventually get myself fully into. Okay, the next game is an odd one because I normally don't go for sports games, but this was at a time where I was starting to get into basketball. NBA 2K16. This game was a lot of fun, and my brother had it first, so I would constantly borrow the game from him to play it once in a while, but he was mainly hogging it because that was the main game that he played, so I didn't really bug him because it was his game. I would get frustrated if he'd constantly borrow my game, so yeah, and unfortunately he sold a big majority of some of my PS4 games because I let him borrow them, and then he went to sell it to get an Xbox One. We forgot whose games were whose, or he didn't ask me if some of the games were mine, and that just happened to be what happened. So I like it a lot because my career was awesome. I feel like it had a good story, no matter, you played it as yourself, but it was an incredible game. It really had a great, incredible story. And the gameplay, just like any sports game, it was basketball. Come on. It was a lot of fun, though. I played it with my friends. It was probably the only sports game I was able to beat my friend Tyler in, and he was crazy at these sport games. Okay. Next game I'd like to talk about is Zombie. Now, the definitive port, in my opinion, of this game was on the Wii U, called Zombie U, because they utilized the gamepad a little bit more in the game, but this, by no means, was a bad game. It was very good on the PS4. Graphically, I think it also looked better, but I don't remember, because I can't remember the last time I played the Wii U version, but the gameplay was pretty good. I don't remember if it had a story, but it definitely was a lot of fun from what I remember about it. Alright, next game I'm going to be talking about is Ultratron. Now, I played this mainly on the Vita because it came out, it was on the same month offered with PlayStation Plus as it was on the PS4. This game was so much fun to me, guys. I cannot even express enough how much I had with it. I think I ended up beating the entire game on the Vita. I played some of it on the PS4, but honestly, this was the better version being played handheld. Every game, in my opinion, if it's played handheld, it's the definitive edition. Even if the graphics are slightly turned down, with the exception of some games running at 30 FPS, which is why I think the Doom port of the Switch port of Doom was not the best, but it's still a fun game nonetheless. Next game is another game that I played on PC first, and then it came free with PlayStation Plus, and I just downloaded it to replay it again for that sake. I 100% completed it on PC, and I beat the whole game on PS4. Didn't 100% complete it, but I did play through the whole thing once again. Saints Row: Get Out of Hell is kind of like an expansion to Saints Row 4, kind of like how you would see something with GTA where you'd get like the Lost and Damned. This one was a shortened version. It definitely, in my opinion, was a better version than Saints Row 4. I love the fact that you're able to fly in it. I love Johnny as a character. This game was incredible. The story was incredible. The gameplay was incredible. It really was just so much fun, guys. I can not talk about it enough. It was so much fun. I would like to replay it again in the future because it, in my opinion, has some good replayability because it's a short game and it's got fun gameplay. Definitely had a lot of fun with it. Okay, Next game is a highlight that I haven't really played too much of, but I do consider it a highlight, and that's Until Dawn. I got this game because a lot of friends were recommending it to me since I was into the story type games that weren't so gameplay. Now, this game kind of gave me a little bit more of a Resident Evil feel while also giving me a Telltale feel. This had a lot of different endings to the game depending on how you progressed through it, depending on the choices you chose. This game was a lot of fun to me in the beginning. I haven't gotten back to doing it, and since I don't have PlayStation Plus, I can't go back and finish it, unfortunately. When I renew my membership by the holiday season, then I'll go back and maybe play these, but I don't know if it'll happen right away because I'm going to be focusing on the current gen systems rather than going back to the last gen. Okay, last game came out on PS4, but it was a PS3 game first, and that is Heavy Rain. This game was incredible. It had an incredible story, and just like the Telltale games that I've loved with all my heart, this game was just about that. This had, in my opinion, one of the best stories in a story-driven game of all time. When Sony makes video games exclusive and they're having story-based games, they are so good. They're always good. They've never failed me so far, at least besides for the Order 1886, which I'm not liking that much yet. But Heavy Rain, in my opinion, was a great story. Some of it was kind of weird. Like some of the scenes in there I feel like just didn't need to be added. It was just to drag older, creepy men into. But honestly, the game itself was pretty good. The story was funny. I do think that the dialogue was kind of weird, though. It was kind of like unrealistic, the dialogue, but it was still funny nonetheless. I enjoyed the game a lot. It was one of my favorite games from this generation, without a doubt. Okay. All that being said, guys, thank you for watching this video. I will be making more videos like this. I know, as a collector, it's upsetting that I have to be talking about digital games, but my side of reality, even with wanting to keep collecting physical, is that sometimes these digital games are just more convenient. You don't have to worry about losing them. You don't have to worry about your brother accidentally selling them. The sad part is I don't know where my Black Ops 3 disc is for my Xbox One, and that was one of my favorite games to play. So losing something like that, you don't have that same problem when you go on your Xbox and you already have the game downloaded onto your hard drive. You don't ever have to worry about losing that game, unless, of course, you run out of a gold membership and you can't access it, which is unfortunate. But anyway, guys, I will be making more videos like this. Have a good one. Hey guys, what's going on? This is my next episode for my series that I like to call Highlights of My Collection. And today we're going to be talking about the Sega Dreamcast. Now, today is going to be slightly different. Last video I talked about my digital collection, and most of my videos before that were my entire physical collection. I do not have many owned physical games for the system. Although this system plays backups, and I had a bunch of CDs on hand, so I ended up just burning them onto those discs and giving myself an experience of trying these games. I eventually, when I get more money, a higher end job, I will collect for the Dreamcast, as I would love to own these games legitimately. But today, I'm just going to talk about my favorite games on the system, for the ones that I backed up onto discs and played them, or I played them on emulators. So first off, I'm going to go with an awesome game, and that is Crazy Taxi. I love this game because it times you to get from one area to another. It gives me so much crazy car driving vibes. I'm not a big racing person, but I am a big fan of car games that have an open world to let you drive around. Sometimes I'll just play GTA. I won't even cause a rampage. I'll just drive all around. I love doing that in this. I love how it times you. I love how it gives you a challenge. I love how there's other modes in the game. This is just truly a masterpiece. I love this game. I really wish this console would have succeeded to have more of higher quality versions of these games, but this game was also brought over, I believe, to the consoles that came after, and it still is a very game in high regard today. The Dreamcast was a great system, but unfortunately it failed due to people's lack of trust with Sega. But one great game. Okay, my next game is a surprising one for me because I'm not a big fighting game person. I do enjoy playing them once in a while with friends, but I can never play them by myself. They're just too boring for me to ever do, but this is one game that I could play by myself because it really has a lot of shit. So here is Soul Calibur. I love this game like crazy. I played this for the first time. This is my first Soul Calibur game I ever played. I played this for the first time at Game On when they had a Dreamcast connected to one of the TVs, and I sat down and played, and I'm pretty sure I got up to the last fight and died, but I got pretty far in my first try, and I enjoyed playing the game ever since. It wasn't until maybe like 3 or 4 years later that I got my own Dreamcast after that day, but this game is a whole lot of fun. I've mainly played Soul Calibur 2 on the original Xbox with my girlfriend, where she's kicked my ass without even being a gamer, and times when I've kicked her ass too. We've kicked each other's asses in this game, but this is a lot of fun. I love it a lot. Alright, next game is Jet Grind Radio. Now, I originally played the PC port of this because I went and got the Mega Drive collection on PC on Steam, and I played Jet Set Radio. So this is the exact same game. I played mainly all of it on PC, but it's basically like an open world type of game too. You know, you're going around and you're spray painting things over gang signs, putting your things down. This is a fun little open world kind of game. It's not necessarily open world, but it's definitely a fun little game to do some free play on, do some cool tricks on while you're on roller skates. It's an awesome thing, in my opinion. It's an awesome game. I've loved playing it so far. Like I said before, I played it on PC first, but I have enjoyed playing it on the Dreamcast a lot. This is the North American version. I'm from the United States, so I have this version to where it's Jet Grind Radio. Okay, another game that I have. I also have the second one of this, just like I have the second one for Crazy Taxi, but it's Power Stone. This was the first game I ever played on a Dreamcast, so this was pretty cool. I played this the same day that I played Soul Calibur, I believe, but this was the first game that I touched on the Dreamcast. I walked in, I played it with a kid that eventually became my friend. I sat down with him. I kicked his ass the first round. He got the hang of it, destroyed me the next 5 rounds. This is a fun game to play with friends. I've played it by myself a few times, but yeah, it is definitely a fun game to play with friends. I've had a lot of fun with this. I would like to invite more friends over and get another controller to play this with them. I've played this at Game On a few times, but I have not played it with friends yet. I would like to. It's a great game that I have, though. Okay. Next game I've talked about in other collections before, and this is, in my opinion, the definitive version, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1. This is an incredible game. I'm really happy that they remade this game to play on Xbox One and PS4 and eventually Switch. It is an awesome, first entry to a series. A lot of people will say Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2 is the better one. I haven't played much of that yet, but I do love this game so far. This is one of the first games I got on the Nintendo 64. I couldn't stand how the soundtrack wouldn't stop looping, so I eventually went and got this just to download onto this disc, and it plays such a good soundtrack. I love every song off of it. It's incredible. I love hearing those classic songs on there, and man, I loved hearing Primus on it too. I thought it was great that they added Jerry Was a Race Car Driver on there. And this song also got me into the song Superman. So I learned that on every instrument that I know. So, this definitely influenced me to listen. It got me into Primus with one song, so what can I say? Alright, next game I'm going to talk about is actually kind of 2 games. So these games have not aged very well in modern times, but Sonic Adventure 1 and Sonic Adventure 2. So when I first played these games, I didn't even know the Dreamcast existed because I was very young. I was around the GameCube era of things, so I was born around that. So my first time playing these games were on the GameCube. My cousin owned them first. I eventually got them myself. I played Sonic Adventure DX first, fell in love with that game. I sucked at it. I didn't beat it on any of the characters at that time. I'm currently trying to beat it now on the Dreamcast version. The GameCube version feels buggier, in my opinion, than the Dreamcast counterpart, but this is a great game. I like playing it better on the Dreamcast than I do on the GameCube. I personally think it looks better, and especially if you hook up, the Dreamcast with a VGA box, this game looks incredible. It was incredible for its time. I believe it's actually in my Dreamcast right now. That's why you don't see the disc. But this is also one of the 2 games that I do own. This is one of the games I do own. Sonic Adventure 2, I backed up. I had it on the emulator, but this was an amazing game. I'm still playing through it. I'm looking to beat it eventually. People will call it shitty today, but I believe it is a whole lot of fun, even to this day. Sonic Adventure 2, I can say similar things about. Like I said before, I got it on the GameCube, but this is the one I prefer more. I do like Sonic Adventure with its open world, but I feel like a game like that didn't really need an open world. There was not much you could do. After completing the game with the open world side of things, you kind of just went back into other areas to where you can redo levels, but you can do the same thing on Adventure 2. So I feel like you didn't really need the open world in that sense. But what I fell in love with in this game, I mainly played on the GameCube version. I fell in love with Chow World. I know it's weird that I still play it today because it's meant for a lot of younger kids, but I love Chow World with all my heart. I believe it's fun as hell. It's addicting, you know, it sucks me in. It's it's one of my guilty pleasures for video games. And this is also one of my guilty pleasures for video games because I have a lot of friends that hate this with a burning passion. Alright. My last game in here wasn't a game that was officially released on the Dreamcast, but this is one of the games that a fan re-released, or the source code was brought out and it was released otherwise. So this is not an official release, but it is still a hell of a game. And one thing that's amazing about the Dreamcast is that there is so much homebrew games out there. Even after the console discontinued in 2001 and shut down production completely, it still got many people were still making games for this system. And I believe that is amazing because this was an amazing console. So enough talking. I'm going to talk about the game. Half-Life. This game on anything is amazing, but this is my favorite console port. Now, granted, there are really only two main console ports that this originally came on. You know, this came out on the PS2 on here, and I believe it also came out in the orange box, unless I'm mistaking that with Half-Life 2. But this is an incredible game. I've been playing it on PC first, but once I got my Dreamcast, I was scrolling around, and I saw that someone was selling a Half-Life copy, which I didn't know was for the Dreamcast. So I thought, holy shit, that looks incredible. Before I buy it, I'm going to see if there's an emulator to see if I can find the ROM anywhere to see if I can see how it runs on the Dreamcast. And no surprise, the game runs really nicely. The only problem is the loading screens are atrocious. The graphics are pretty, you know, they're Half-Life. They're pretty good graphics for what can run on a Dreamcast. In my opinion, it looks superior to the PS2 version, but the frame rate is kind of It's kind of all over the place. I believe that it's definitely a weird port. I wish they would have made it to where it was easier to map the buttons to the controller, or they would have had a much better default button mapping to this thing. Unfortunately, the remapping the controls is also a bit of a pain, and they're not always the best in every situation. So it can be a bit of a pain. Plus, with the lack of dual analog sticks, it also makes this game a bit of a pain in the ass. I will eventually like to get the keyboard, the Sega Dreamcast keyboard and the Sega Dreamcast mouse, and do all this and do it more, get more games like Seaman and stuff like that. But, you know, this is still a lot of fun to play on the Dreamcast, and if you have one, I'd recommend finding this game. Anyway, guys, that's it for this video. That's the highlights of my collection, well, my favorite games for the system. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I will see you in the next one. Hey guys, what's going on? This is the next video in my series that I like to call Highlights of My Collection. And today we're going to be talking about the Sega Saturn. Now, just like in my last video where I talked about the Sega Dreamcast, I don't really own any games physically for this system. Unfortunately, they are just so expensive, and I wouldn't be able to afford probably even up to 5 of them. They're just so expensive, these games, and considering they're so old, I can't justify spending that kind of money on them. Sega isn't going to go after me for, you know, pirating games that they don't even support anymore or even sell out there, so I might as well have just done it. I got the Action Replay, I installed Pseudo Saturn on my Saturn, and I've been enjoying the hell out of it ever since I got it. Compared to the other Sega systems, it is my least favorite, but it is still a fuckload of fun. I like it better than the Nintendo 64, although less powerful. I do have a lot of fun with the system, so I'm going to jump right into games. I have a lot of them. I actually played more on the system than I have on the Dreamcast, and there's a much more that I've played that I might add in another video. So, but for now, this is all I'm going to talk about, because I haven't played every single one up there. Alright, first game I'm going to bring out is Daytona USA. So I put these in just like some custom cases, whatever. That's what I did for every one of them. You know, here's a little backup CD. Daytona USA is a fun little racing game that was kind of meant to be sort of like a tech demo to show off what the Saturn is able to do, because a lot of people were claiming that this system could not do 3D at all. Yes, it was meant to do more 2D stuff, but some of the 3D games that came out on the system were not disappointing at all. And then some were very disappointing. But this was an example of a game that looked great, played great, and sounded great. You know, it was a great game for a system that really wasn't that promising for 3D. But I gotta say, this game impresses me. I know, obviously, I wasn't born around this time that games looked like this, but even to looking at it, like comparing it to what power it actually had, this was a pretty great game. Alright, next game is another example of kind of like a tech demo showing that it can do 3D. Panzer Dragoon 1 and 2. So I have only played Panzer Dragoon 1, so I can't really say anything about 2. I have a little double disc case in here where I have, because I took some movie discs away, I have Panzer Dragoon 2 in here, and then I think Panzer Dragoon 1 is actually in my Saturn at the moment because I was playing it not that long ago, but I love the game so far. It is very challenging for me due to the fact that playing 3D games on a Saturn controller, not the 3D controller, just a standard Saturn controller, can be a bit of a pain in the ass, but it's a fun little dragonish game where you're, you know, going around and shooting other enemies. It's just one of those 3D kind of scrolling forward games that I like to play. It's definitely a fun one for me and one of my favorites on the system, no doubt. Alright, so my next game I'm going to be talking about is Darius Gaiden / Darius Gaiden / Darius Gaiden. I have no fucking idea how to pronounce this. No matter what way I will say this, there will always be somebody to correct me, as Metal Jesus has said. So, this game is a lot of fun, because I'm a very big fan of 2D side-scrollers. I feel like they're so much fun, and considering the Saturn had so much of them, you know, it was definitely a system for me to pick up. This game is so much fun. I love how you have so much power-ups in this game, how you go around, you just fucking shoot anything in sight, how you gotta be really careful. I have actually gotten to the last stage of this game and died. I've beaten up to, you know, the rows, because they give you different options for levels you go up to next, but I've gotten to the end of most of them, except for one of them, which I can't remember which one because it's been so long, but I got pretty decent at this game. It is so much fun for me. I would like to play it more and maybe eventually stream it, but my Saturn's in here, so I probably, if I'm going to do that, I'm just going to run it on an emulator and stream it from my PC, but definitely a lot of fun. I love this game a lot. Okay, next one is a great compilation, and I can kind of compare this in a way to how they did with Mario 3D All-Stars. I'm going to try not to shit on Mario All-Stars. I've done it way too much, but with this one, they actually remastered some of the soundtracks, some of the environments in the background. The game still played exactly the same and all that, but it, you know, had a little bit of enhancements. This had Sonic 1, Sonic 2, Sonic 3, and Sonic 3 and Knuckles. So, and I believe it had one other Sonic that was kind of like a 3D looking game that was going to predict what Sonic Adventure 1 and 2 were kind of going to be like. I believe the original Sonic Adventure was actually supposed to come to the Saturn, but, you know, since the Dreamcast came out, they released it on that. But this is a great compilation of the games. There's not much to say about it because those are just all the games on it. I love how they have like a difficulty mode for each of them. I personally just like playing on the original difficulty rather than easy or normal. I believe that that's the best way to play this game if you don't have a Genesis. I mean, judging if you have a Saturn, you probably had a Genesis as well, so that's pretty weird to say. The Saturn didn't sell very much, so I'm very lucky to have one, my own, and to have only gotten it for $70. But this was a great game. I love it a lot. Okay, next game is actually the first Tomb Raider game that ever came out on any system. Yes, Tomb Raider did come out on the PS1, but it came out on the Saturn first. So, although this game controls like absolute garbage, I do like playing it on the Saturn a bit. Obviously, the definitive version is either playing this on the PC with a keyboard or playing this on the PS1, but I feel like there isn't many things taken away when playing the Saturn version. Yes, the controller is very awkward to play with. Like I said before, 3D games on Saturn with the standard controller, it can be a little bit of a pain, but that's not to say this game is any bad. I haven't been playing it much, and I kind of got frustrated after the first level due to the fact that the controls of this game just suck on anything you play it on. Just the camera controls in general. But, this is the first to one of my favorite franchises of all time, and I gotta say, this is a great game to play on the Saturn. Alright, next game is an unusual one that I would go for, because I'm not normally a big racing fan, but this is like a different kind of racing game that's a lot of fun to me. Wipeout 2097. I have a lot of fun with this game. I believe the graphics on this are insane for what should be played on the Saturn. They look great, the game plays great, everything in the game just looks incredible. The environments, the Saturn really wasn't as underpowered as people anticipated. This game looked amazing on the Saturn. I haven't played it on any other system, but I had a lot of fun playing on here. This is a fun little racing game that you do in shifts. Okay, now this is probably the worst port of Doom out there. Obviously, there's probably been some worse, but this is arguably one of the worst out there. In fact, it's actually worse than the 32X port. The frame rates are terrible. The soundtrack is pretty much gone at that point. It just, I don't know, it's very underwhelming. It's one of the worst ports out there, but I did have fun playing it because I like playing shitty games. I like playing the shittiest versions of the games. I purposely bought Sonic 06 on the PS3 to have the worst experience for the game, so I did the exact same thing for this. I love playing it. I did beat Doom. I don't remember which difficulty I did it on the Saturn, but I did end up beating it on the system, and although it ran like shit, it was still a lot of fun to play, and I feel like if you got this for the Saturn, you shouldn't be complaining much, because the Saturn really wasn't very easy to develop for. On top of that, it wasn't meant to be targeting 3D games. But this is 2.5D, whatever you want to call it, but I still consider it somewhat under 3D. Okay, next one is the game that I love a lot. This one is Metal Slug. Now, this has come out on stuff like the Neo Geo before, I believe, but this is a game that I decided to download and play on my Saturn. I've had a lot of fun with this one. Personally, I haven't beaten the game. I've gotten decently far into it, but it's another one of those 2D shooter games that I'm a huge fan of. It's been so much fun for me lately. I haven't been playing it much. I mean, it's been fun to me, but lately I haven't been playing it much. I would like to get back into playing this and maybe eventually beat the game, but for now, it's going to be sitting on my shelf until I decide to go back to it. Okay, we're down to my last two games, guys, and, well, actually, technically, next few, because I have cases with multiple discs in them, so for first one is Quake. This was a complete miracle to be running on the Saturn, because the original game really just could not run on the Saturn properly. So what they had to do was build the game from the ground up to make a Saturn version. I believe that this port was absolutely amazing. Yes, they took out some things that you would be seeing on the PS1 and systems like the Nintendo 64 later on, you know, other systems and the PC version obviously, but I feel like this was an awesome port. They did a great job of building this up and releasing it on the Saturn. I believe that was a great choice for them. And the other one is Mega Man 8 on here that I haven't really played that much, but, you know, Mega Man games are Mega Man games. You get exactly what you're expecting. It's a fun game. I also have Mega Man X4. I believe I like that game better, but Mega Man 8 is not a bad one. Okay, down to my last game case that has a few games on here. The only one that I have not played on here is Radiant Silvergun. So I don't think I've played it yet. Maybe I did and I forgot. I honestly don't remember. I downloaded a lot of these games in one day and just played them. So Nights into Dreams is one of Sega's biggest games that came after the system due to the fact that it looked absolutely incredible on the Saturn. It is one of my favorite games for the system, although I haven't played it much. It definitely is a game to talk about. You know, I don't really know much of the premise behind it, but it is definitely some fun. Hexen is kind of like a Doom game if you put Dungeons and Dragons in there. You know, it's just a Doom clone. There's not much to talk about. It's a Doom clone, but it definitely is a great Doom clone. Resident Evil, you know, what else am I going to say? It's the first Resident Evil. This also came out on the PS1. I don't know which version is the definitive version, honestly, because I haven't played the PS1 version or any other version for that matter, but I had a lot of fun with that one. I didn't beat it, but I did have some fun. Like I said before, Radiant Silvergun, I have not touched. So, guys, I have a bunch more games that I had downloaded on my shelf. I'm looking up there just to make sure that I haven't played all of them. Yeah, I played a decent amount of those, but I probably will make a part 2 to this video eventually. But for now, this is my part 1. This is the end of my video. Thank you guys for watching. I love the Saturn with a passion. I know that it definitely wasn't the best of the consoles that came out at its time, but it is one of my favorites to play, and I love playing systems that were considered the shitty ones. Have a good one. Hey guys, what's going on? This is the next episode in the highlights of my collection series, and today I'm going to be talking about my Steam collection highlights. So this is a little different because I'm talking I'm talking digital. I did this with the Xbox One and PS4 as well, and now I'm going to do it with my PC games. So I may eventually bring other games up from my other digital libraries other than Steam. You know, I have Uplay, I have Bethesda games, and I also have Origin. That's the name of it. Yeah, so I have a bunch of games that I'm going to talk about, so I won't be able to fit it all into one video. I will keep consistently making videos. I believe I have 4 different lists for this, but I'm just going to go with the first list today, and that's going to be talking about my Steam library. So before I get into it, I'm just going to explain that the reason why there's so many games I talk about in here compared to my consoles is because most of the time when I bought a game on PC, there was a big reason for why I bought it. It wasn't like on console to where I kind of just like hoarded a bunch of games to kind of just either play them or just make them look cool by being on my shelf. I didn't do that just to make my Steam library look huge. I bought them simply because I wanted to experience the games. And the reason why I bought them justifiably is because they tend to be more expensive when you buy them digitally other than when you get a used copy, except for 2 times a year when there's a summer sale and a winter/holiday sale. So there's a little more games on this list typically because of that, and there's just so much to talk about. I will make more videos. So all that being said, I'm going to jump in to my list. So the first one I'm going to talk about is Bayonetta. So originally, I never played this game on any other system. I heard a lot of people talking about it, a lot of friends that were Nintendo fans and played this on that platform. I didn't ever touch this before, so this was actually my first version of the game I ever played, and it's currently the only version I played. When my friends told me it came out on PC and told me how good it was, I finally decided to pick it up. And I do enjoy the game. I haven't played it in some time now. It's actually been since 2017 since I last played the game, so a little over 3 years since the last time I played it. But it is a great game. The graphics are amazing. It is an amazing PC port. In fact, you can actually run this game at 8K if you wanted to on a GTX 1070, and in my opinion, that is a huge deal. So I recommend anybody getting this game. It is pretty cool. It's not a game that I continued playing very long, but it was pretty decent for the time I was on with it. Maybe I will jump on it eventually when I have more time to play all these games, but I have so many other games I want to play that it's probably going to be a while till I ever jump back on this. So with that being said, I'm going to jump to my next game on my list, and that is BioShock. So I have every BioShock game in the franchise. I have only played BioShock 1 as of now. I haven't gotten to playing BioShock 2 and 3 because I didn't beat BioShock 1. In fact, I have the remastered versions of this as well as the OG versions of the game on Steam, because what happened was I bought the franchise, and then they remastered the games and gave you the remastered versions since you already had the games originally. But the only thing is, it was kind of weird because the games don't look much different than their original counterpart. I honestly think it was just pointless for them to re-release them because it honestly just looked exactly the same, even with the graphics turned up to 4K on both of them. They both pretty much look the same. That's except for BioShock Infinite. That was the only one that didn't have another like remastered version. You just have Infinite, which you increase the graphics on. So the game is pretty good. Unfortunately, when I was pretty close to the end of BioShock 1, and the reason I never finished it and jumped onto 2 was because about towards the end of the game, my game crashed. I had saved multiple times, but when I went back in, my save data was gone. So that was very frustrating. I was very upset about that. So after over 30 hours of playing the game, I went, fuck no, I'm not jumping on this game again for the next few years. And I've pretty much kept that up. Last time I played the remastered version was also 2017, just like Bayonetta. So haven't played it in a long time. Let's just say that. Okay, my next game I'm going to talk about is Black Ops 2. Now, this game, I have played on the 360 before. I had already experienced it a lot on there by playing online with my friends and playing some of the original zombie maps that came with the game. I did not buy the DLC for Xbox, but I did play the DLC maps at my cousin's house, and I have played some of these games on Black Ops 3 when Zombie Chronicles came out. So it honestly was an amazing game. I will probably buy this on the PS3 again when I'm collecting more for my PS3 in the future. For now, I'm focusing on current gen games, so I'm probably not going to be going too much when expanding for my retro game collection. But that being said, this was an amazing game. I would definitely buy it again. I would definitely play the campaign again, and I would love to relive some of these zombie maps and maybe play them with friends again when I have more interest in it once again. All right. Next game would be Advanced Warfare, and this game got a lot of hate and a lot of love at the same time. More love at the beginning and more hate after the other games came out, like BO3 came out and Infinite Warfare. The reason it got hate later on is because there was three futuristic games in a row, and I feel like the only reason it got shit on was because of that. If Advanced Warfare was the only futuristic game, I feel like it would have gotten a lot more love years later on, but unfortunately, it just got a bad rep because of games that came out after that, and that makes me pretty upset, because I did love Advanced Warfare. I thought the Exo Zombies was interesting. I thought the futurism of the game was very interesting. I thought that the campaign was amazing. It had some very great live-action moments in there, and you really felt like you were playing a movie. I know you pretty much get that experience with the other Call of Duty games, but this especially felt cinematic, and it ran great on my PC as well, so that's also a plus. It's a great PC port. So I'm going to jump on to the next game, and this is the third Call of Duty game I'm talking about in a row. And in my opinion, this is my favorite Call of Duty game on the PC at the moment due to the fact that you can get the custom maps on it, and that is World at War. World at War is an amazing game. I have not played through the campaign, honestly, since this game doesn't have the best controller support. You don't really have the best option to do that, to use a controller. So me being a controller player, this is very frustrating. So when playing these zombie maps, I have used my keyboard and mouse, and some of these maps are a lot of fun that you can download. The maps that came with the game are great, but honestly, the community has made the best maps, and my favorite map would have been the Super Mario 64 map, which I have had a lot of fun with over the years. I haven't played much multiplayer with my friends on these maps, but they definitely were a lot of fun for me on my own. It got me into zombies a bit more, and this was the first Call of Duty game that I bought on PC. Okay, the next game is a bitch of a game that I've had trouble on for many years to come, ever since it came out. I believe I did get this game day one when it came out on PC, so that game goes to Dark Souls 3. So this was the last game. I played this in about 2017. That was the last time I played it. I played it for a bit over 18 hours, and honestly, I did not get very far by myself. I was stuck on the first, tutorial boss for a very long time, and then got stuck on other parts of the game, considering this game is very hard. When people talk about hard games, a lot of times they'll compare it to Dark Souls, so this is just one of those games that gives you that idea. The only time I got decently far into the game is when I was streaming this on Twitch, and a big streamer came in and helped me through some of the game by completely just destroying some of these bosses. However, my character didn't level up much because of him doing most of the dirty work for me, so after he left, I pretty much just died every second of trying to play more. But it's a great game nonetheless. I'm very excited for Demon Souls coming out on the PS5. When I get one, I will definitely buy that. Next game is probably more of a small-time game, but it's made by the same developer of Insurgency. And I got to talk to the developer a little bit when this game was in beta and alpha, and I talked to him a bit, and I was very happy when it came out. I liked talking to the developer. He was a nice guy. That is Day of Infamy. It is a World War II multiplayer kind of game. I have not played the game too long, but it definitely is one of my favorite World War II games I have ever played on a platform. It was so much fun. You guys have no idea. I definitely recommend you guys checking it out if you are into a multiplayer style World War II game and would like to branch off from the typical Battlefield and Call of Duty games. This is definitely a great replacement for those kind of games. I had a lot of fun with it when playing it for some time, but yeah, it's a great game. I definitely recommend it. Okay, next game on my list I'm going to talk about is Dishonored. Now, I didn't beat the game of this, but I did enjoy the time that I had playing with it. The graphics look incredible. You can choose to either be stealthy or you can be crazy and die constantly trying to be completely aggressive taking down these enemies. Now, I suck at this game completely. I wasn't amazingly fond of it, but I did have a lot of fun playing it when I was playing it. I think, yeah, the last time I played this actually was in 2016, and I got decently into the game. I played about 9 hours of this, so it definitely was interesting to say the least. So I will probably get back into playing this eventually. I also own this on the Xbox One, so I'm most likely going to be playing that version when I can play it on the Series X. I also have Dishonored 2 on the Xbox One that I will play after I beat Dishonored 1. So there's a lot of games that I have that I clearly haven't beaten that I want to play the prequels of, but I want to beat the sequels of, but I want to beat the first game of it first before I continue. That goes for a lot of games. I did that for Gears of War. I owned Gears of War 4 for 2 years before I played it because I wanted to beat 1 all the way to that game. I beat Gears 4, and then I beat Gears 5 directly after that. So that's a lot of things that you'll probably see from me. I never play a newer game before I play an older game, with the exception of some multiplayer games that come out, like some of the Call of Duty games. I got BO2 before BO1, Modern Warfare 2 and 3 before MW1, but I'm going off on a tangent here. So I'm going to talk about the last game on this list, and this is my favorite game on the list, my favorite game of all time, my favorite game of this generation, and that is Doom 2016. I do own Doom Eternal. I have it in my Bethesda library, but I honestly like Doom 2016 better. I thought that it played better, it controlled better. It didn't look better, but I feel like it really was just the better game, in my opinion. A lot of people disagree with me, but I honestly liked the 2016 Doom better than Eternal. So this game was incredible to me. It was the first shooter game that I got extremely into. I've beaten the story multiple times. This is only the only shooter game that I've beaten on a difficulty higher than like the normal difficulty. I beat it on Nightmare, so it that just goes to show how much I got into this, because I honestly suck at shooter games, but I was a very big fan of this one. It definitely got me better at playing games like Halo. It kind of had a Halo element to it in the multiplayer, like a mix between Halo and Destiny in there, but I told you it was a lot of fun. I will continue to keep playing this game over and over and over again. I ended up rebuying this game on the Switch after beating it on PC so many times. The Switch port was okay, but honestly, the PC port is where it's at and where it will always be. That's where Doom was always meant to be played. Anyway, guys, thank you for watching this first part of the video. I will eventually make a second part of this video. I may upload it the day after this one, a week after. I don't know yet. So, and I hope you enjoyed this one. I will make another one soon. Hey guys, what's going on? This is the next episode in the highlights of my collection series that I like to do, and today I'm going to be talking again about my Steam highlights. This is going to be my part 2 video, so I am going to jump right into it. I already explained everything, how this video is going to be in my first video if you want to check that out, but I'm just going to jump right into the games. So the first one I'm going to talk about is Dying Light. So I haven't really gotten too crazy into this one yet. I have had it for the past few years. I actually got an Xbox One first, but when I saw it on the Steam summer sale, I decided to rebuy it due to wanting to play it at higher frame rates, since on games on console, I hate 30 FPS. I've always hated 30 FPS. I can tolerate it. I tolerated it with the Gears of War franchise as well as Tomb Raider and some others, but I always will enjoy playing at 60 much better. Over 60, I don't really care. I don't have a 120Hz monitor. I normally just stick with 60 FPS. I've gone on a tangent. I'm just going to stop doing that now. So Dying Light so far is pretty fun. The only thing that with a lot of these games that I have on Steam is that I play in the very beginning. I don't get used to the controls in the beginning. I end up playing other games and I end up leaving these behind. So the last time I played Dying Light was actually in 2018. So it's been a long time since the last time I played it. Although the game has looked awesome to me, I have watched others play it and enjoy it. So I eventually probably will pick this game back up again and, you know, give it another shot, but for now, I put the game down, but I still consider it a highlight of my collection. Okay, so the next game on my list is Doom BFG Edition. So, in my previous video, I talked about Doom 2016 being my favorite entry of the Doom franchise, but Doom BFG Edition gave me the option to play pretty much every Doom game minus Doom 64. So, I got to experience Doom 1, Doom 2, Doom 3, all in that compilation, and plus some of the master levels and stuff like that. So it really was an awesome collection of some of these games. It got me into the franchise a lot after Doom 64. So I got to play all these games. I beat each and every one of these games at I think at the normal difficulty that you would play these at. And honestly, it's a lot of fun. I love the original Doom. I prefer Quake over Doom, but there's nothing to lose when playing Doom. as always. Doom 3 was my least favorite of the bunch, and is my least favorite Doom game of all time due to it feeling much different than a typical Doom game. It felt more like a slower version of Halo, in my opinion, but it nonetheless was good, and I eventually will beat Doom 3 when I get the chance. I forgot to mention I didn't beat Doom 3. I beat the other ones -3. So, yeah, like I said, it's a great game, and I definitely recommend it. Okay, so the next game on my list is Skyrim. So, I don't have the special edition version of Skyrim because I didn't have the DLC for Skyrim. I only have the original game, and I played through a decent chunk of it. I probably won't ever get to beating this game due to how big it is, and if I am going to, I probably will end up playing the Switch version due to it being portable, and if I'm out anywhere, I'd probably just play the game when it's with me, or maybe if it comes on Game Pass due to Microsoft buying Bethesda, I can end up just playing this with xCloud and then jump back on my PC and jump back on my Series X once I get that. So this game is a great game, and I didn't appreciate it that much until I played Breath of the Wild and then decided to go back and play Skyrim, and I had a lot of fun with it. So I still am playing through the game. It is a great game for me to play. I love it. You know, it's definitely a legendary game. I can't wait for them to make an Elder Scrolls 6. All right, next game is Fable Anniversary. So this is another example of a game that I started, didn't get used to the controls too much, or this may have been a little bit different because I got through a decent chunk of the game and just never finished it. This is a game that I probably will actually end up playing on the original Xbox rather than this, because I like playing on the original console versions of it rather than the PC version. But the PC version was great when I played it. I didn't have the console version yet, so this was a lot of fun for me when playing it. I consider it a highlight, although I didn't play much of it. So Fallout 3 and Fallout 4 are another example of games that I love the style of them, but I simply just didn't get into them fast enough. At one point, Fallout 3 was having major problems with Xbox, considering it was a Games from Windows Live game at one point, and I was having problems connecting to the servers, so I ended up just dropping Fallout 3 altogether. Fallout 4, I didn't play much of either. I played it mainly on the PS4, but it definitely is a great game. I definitely would recommend it to anybody that's a Skyrim fan, because Fallout 4 is pretty much Skyrim with guns. Okay, the next game on my list is Gmod, and although I didn't play this much by myself, my friend Moosey got me into the game, and we played a bunch of maps on there. We played some kind of like Counter-Strike style maps, but on Gmod, it is a fun game to play where you can pretty much just jump on any kind of map. I had a lot of fun with it, and although I didn't play a million hours of it, I still consider it a great game, and it can run on all sorts of hardware. So if you have a piece of shit PC from like 5 years ago, most likely you'll be able to still run this game pretty well. Okay, the next games I should consider on my list are the GTA series. So I'm like up and down with this list. GTA 5 and GTA 4 are my favorite on this list, but GTA 3, Vice City, and San Andreas, although were great ports, the only problem is the controller support of these were absolute shit. So although you were able to map your controls, there were instances where some of the controls were pretty confusing to understand what you were supposed to click. So I got through a decent chunk of San Andreas on PC, but then I got to a mission to where I just couldn't understand what the controls were when controlling something, and I just never went back to doing it. I couldn't figure it out on keyboard. I couldn't figure it out on my controller. I just never ended up beating the game. I will eventually jump back to this game on the original Xbox or my PS2 when beating it again, but it was a great game. Vice City, I also had control problems, and GTA 3 I just ditched altogether because I like the PS2 and original Xbox version better due to it controlling much better. GTA 4, originally it was very buggy and it ran like shit on most hardware, but recently Rockstar has revised it. They took away Games from Windows Live from it and just made it a standalone Steam game. They took away some radio stations and some extra content in the game, but they did give you the entire GTA 4 collection, which included Ballad of Gay Tony and Lost and Damned, which, by the way, were amazing stories, and the multiplayer was a lot of fun, and even when GTA 5 was out, I would jump on PC with my friends and still play GTA 4 before it came out on the PC. So it was an amazing game. You know, it had a great story, and it still has a lot of memes surrounding it, you know, with the whole bowling thing. And so I really did enjoy it, but GTA 5 is where I really had my best experiences. In my opinion, playing this on any console, you get the best experience, besides for the 360 and PS3 nowadays. They are still adding more content to this game to this day, and they're even re-releasing this game on PS5 and Xbox Series X. So that's going to be a pretty big deal when that comes out. I hope that they will release more content. I do believe that they should release a GTA 6 in the next 2 years, though, because it's getting a little ridiculous how long it's been since this game has come out. So, that being said, I'm going to jump into the next game, and that is Half-Life. And man, is this game amazing. This has been taking me a long time to beat due to me sucking at these kind of games, but so far, for a game that came out all those years ago, this was way ahead of its time. Now, I have this on multiple different platforms. I have this on Android, where you extract the PC files into the Android files when you own the game. I have the Dreamcast port of this, and I have also played it on my PS2 from time to time. So my favorite port of this is obviously the PC port. It runs the best, it looks the best, it controls the best. In my opinion, this game was meant to be played on PC. It has console ports, but I still believe that the PC version was the best version of this game. So, this game has aged very well in my opinion. I really wish, Valve would come out with a Half-Life 3. Although they did come out with a Half-Life Alyx, so I'd say that they redeemed themselves a little bit by finally releasing more to the franchise, but this game was incredible. It's a great start. I have not played Half-Life 2 yet or the other episodes of it yet because I am just focusing currently on Half-Life 1. I will eventually hopefully beat this game, and then I will be able to continue on to the next one, and yeah, that's all I really have to say. Okay, so the next game is Halo the Master Chief Collection, and man, I did not expect this game to come to PC at all. Even with Xbox releasing most of their games, I really thought that they would have stuck with keeping Halo on their Xbox so they had people have a reason to buy the console, but they ended up bringing this game over to PC, and that is pretty awesome to me. I mean, I had already beaten all the games on Xbox One already. The only game that I didn't beat was Halo Reach, and I got the PC version when Halo Reach came out. Halo Reach came out on the PC, so I played through that on here. And let's just say, Microsoft is really good nowadays with optimizing their games to run on all sorts of hardware, because when Quantum Break originally came out, ran like complete shit, but every other game that I played, like Gears of War 5, ran at 4K and maintained 60 FPS most of the time. The same I can say about the Master Chief Collection. I ran these with the settings pretty much turned all the way up, and I was still maintaining 60 FPS on Halo Reach at 4K for pretty much the whole time. So that is a big deal to me. I really feel like when you optimize these games to be able to play on PC very well, that's how you know that you're a pretty good developer. So Xbox was very good with that. I enjoyed playing the collection. Although I experienced most of it on the Xbox One, I got a great experience out of playing this on the PC. So if you are a shooter fan, this is a no-brainer to get because you get to play every single Halo game in one collection, minus Halo 5. Okay, the last game on my list for this part of the video will be Hellblade. So this game looks absolutely fucking insane on anything. It is a pretty hard game to run, with that being said, though, because it looks crazy realistic, and although it wasn't the best game I've played so far, or even close to the best game, it still was crazy to show what kind of graphics could be pushed with the types of hardware that are out. I was very surprised to see this game running on Xbox One and PS4, because it looks so damn realistic. But I played this on the PC, and it really was hard to run on my PC as well. I did, however, try running it in 4K, so that can be a reason why it was running like complete garbage, but it looks incredible. It is a very hard game too, because once you die, you start from the beginning. So it's a very hard game. A lot of people compare it to Dark Souls, but I think it's much different than Dark Souls. It is, that being said though, a very hard game. I eventually would like to get back into it and maybe try to beat it, and I am also very excited to play the next coming game on the Xbox Series X, considering I have Game Pass. Okay guys, that is it for this video. I will be making a part 3 coming out soon. Thank you for watching this one. I will see you all in the next one. Hey guys, what's going on? This is part 3 to the episode of my collection series where I'm covering the Steam highlights. So this is my 3rd video on that. There will be one more video after this one, but I'm just going to jump right into it since I explained how I'm going to do this video in my part 1. If you want to see what I'm basing this off of, how I'm talking about it, why I'm talking about it, I explained all that in my first video, so definitely check that one out and my other videos. But this one, I'm going to just jump right into my list just like the last one. So the first game I'm going to talk about is Injustice 1. Injustice, let me just see what the full name of that is, because I only wrote down Injustice. Pretty sure it's called Gods Among Us. Yeah. It was a great game, honestly. I didn't play really any multiplayer, and I didn't really play this with my friends either, but this was a game that I actually just pretty much played through the story of it. It Although I'm not a giant fighting fan, like a fighting game fan, where it's like a 2D ish mixed with 3D fighting. Like, I'm not a huge Mortal Kombat fan. I'm not a huge Street Fighter fan. This game was honestly a lot of fun to me. I did play through the whole story and I beat it fairly quickly. It was a whole lot of fun. It had some difficulty behind it. So, between all the fighting games I played before, this might actually be one of my favorites, right next to Soul Calibur. Like I said before, this is a very great game. I recommend it to anybody that likes those kind of 2D fighting games. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. Okay, next game on my list is Just Cause 2, and this gives me pretty much GTA vibes. It pretty much is a direct competitor to GTA. I've had a lot of fun with it. I didn't beat it, but I did get decently far into it. So the story is great, the gameplay is great. When I got this game, it was years and years after it came out, and I honestly thought it was a next-gen game when loading it up and turning the graphics up, because the game looked pretty good, and I can't believe it came out on last-gen, on consoles like the 360 and the PS3. The game honestly looked incredible, and it played incredible. They improved a lot of things of the game in Just Cause 3, but in my opinion, Just Cause 2 was an amazing game that I recommend anybody trying out, and even check out Just Cause 1, because this entire franchise is a lot of fun. Okay, next game is Left 4 Dead 1 and 2. So I played through these game stories, and I played Left 4 Dead 2 with a few friends, not only on PC, but on the Xbox 360. This is a great zombie kind of game. I feel like it feels better than some other zombie games that I played. This is pretty much based completely on it, so they did a pretty good job of doing it. I really wish Valve would release more of these games nowadays, but unfortunately they seem to be focusing more on Steam than releasing games. This game was a lot of fun. Both games were a lot of fun. They can run on pretty much any type of hardware nowadays if you have like a computer that came out in the past 10 years, because the games are very, very easy to run, and they're very fun games to play. And also, if you have a 360 or PS3, I definitely recommend the game. So yeah, this game goes for sale very frequently, other than just during the year. It definitely happens a lot during the winter and the summer sales. So definitely keep an eye out for that in the sales if you're going to look for the next games in your Steam library. Okay, next game I'm going to talk about is Mad Max, and this gave me a GTA vibe again, but it kind of gave me somewhat of a Tomb Raider Uncharted vibe in a way. It's nothing like the games, but it definitely did give you like kind of feeling of that. I don't really know how to describe the game much. I don't remember much of it, but I did remember playing through a decent chunk of it a while back. If I look in how many hours of it, I don't think I had much due to the fact that I don't remember it. I'm really not sure, but Mad Max, let's see. I had about 6 hours on it, so a decent amount of time. Not enough, probably enough to beat the game, but I just simply didn't beat it. This game got a lot of love in the beginning, but eventually just died out, along with a lot of other games that are on this list. So with that being said, since I don't have much to talk about it, although I do consider it a Steam highlight, I'm going to talk about the next one. Okay, the next one is Mafia 3. Now this, I believe, was also released by Rockstar, if I remember correctly. What the fuck is it on my list? Mafia 3. Did this game come out by Rockstar? Yeah, I'm pretty sure Rockstar released this game, if I'm not mistaken, and it is basically an old-time GTA game. This game took time in the 50s. It's got that great soundtrack that you want to hear. It's either the 50s or the 60s. I honestly freaking forgot, but whatever it was, the soundtrack of it's amazing. It's got a great story. It's got, some pretty interesting topics in it, and it makes you feel like you're in that time period. Also, the gameplay is a lot of fun too, so I recommend anybody getting this if you're a GTA fan. Okay, so this next game on my list is a funny one to talk about because it really wasn't meant to be a game that was supposed to be good, but I still consider it a highlight because I spent a lot of time playing it. The game used to be called Not GTA 5. Like, it was called Not GTA 5, and it was just meant to be a little misleading thing to get people to buy it just for the meme. And it honestly was just a really fun game. It was pretty much making fun of the concept of GTA 5 and just putting it into a game with simple graphics and simple gameplay, and it really was just a lot of fun. Eventually, Rockstar, got annoyed by the name and made them take it down, so they changed the name of the game to not the name we wanted. It's still the same game, just with a different name. Honestly, it was a pretty fun game, and it was quite a meme for a little while. I got my dose of gameplay on here, and it was a decent amount of fun when playing it. With that being said, I'm jumping to the next game. Next game I'm going to talk about is Portal 2. Now, I have major headaches when playing this game because I just get like motion sickness when playing because I just keep like jumping through portals and trying to use my brain. This is definitely a brain kind of game, and once again, it was made by Valve, so it's got like a similar engine to what you're doing in the Left 4 Dead games and the Half-Life games. I don't remember the exact engine that's used for this, but it definitely has. You can definitely tell that it's a Valve game just by playing. It was a lot of fun. I also had Portal 1, but I enjoyed Portal 2 much more. I didn't beat the game, but I did get, like I said before, I'm saying this a lot, a decent chunk through it. So it's a fun game, nonetheless. I love it a lot, and I definitely recommend it to anybody that wants to collect games on Steam. Okay, so the next game I'm going to talk about is Quake. So this is basically Doom, but like a full 3D Doom. So this came out around the classic time of when Doom was a major hit. Quake, in my opinion, was a much better game. I did beat this game on the Saturn and on the PC. So I love this game like crazy. It still, in my opinion, holds up today. I know that obviously the graphics are not nearly as good, but the gameplay itself still is a whole lot of fun. And in my opinion, it didn't fall with age. It really does have amazing graphics, and it just honestly is awesome. With that being said, I'm going to jump to my next game, and that is Saints Row 4 and Gat Out of Hell. So Saints Row 4 was the first one I played. Obviously, Gat Out of Hell was an expansion, but I got Saints Row 4 pretty soon after it came out. I played it on the PC, and although a lot of fans hated this game due to it shifting gameplay styles from Saints Row 3, I believe that this game was a whole lot of fun, and you got some pretty cool power-ups you can play, and free playing this is a lot of fun because you can run pretty damn fast, you can run up buildings. It definitely feels like GTA, but it added something new and different, and they took a risk with it. Honestly, they fell with the risk. There has not been a Saints Row game since Saints Row 4 or Gat Out of Hell, but it definitely was a game that I had a lot of fun with. Gat Out of Hell was my favorite of the two. I felt like they added better power-ups in this game, and just the ability to fly everywhere was a lot of fun to me. I love the story of both of them, although they were kind of, quirky, weird stories. They were definitely a lot of fun to play with. Okay, so the next game I'm going to talk about is Rocket League. I've played this on every single platform. I have so much fun with it. I am not a major sports game fan, but this is kind of like one of those games that is kind of like a sports game, but not really. It's pretty much for anybody, even for people who aren't sports fans. This game honestly was a lot of fun to me. It still is fun to me. I'll still jump on once in a while. My brother will kick my ass at this game, by the way, but it is still so much fun. You pretty much play as cars. You can either play in like a basketball mode or a soccer mode. I don't know if they added much more to the game other than that, but you're playing as cars against other teammates, and other people are playing as cars as well, and they're just hitting the ball. You're trying to get it into their goal or their basket, whichever mode you're playing. It honestly is just a whole lot of fun. It's a pain in the ass to control, but in my opinion, that's just the fun behind it. I got pretty decent at this game when I played it back then, but nowadays, if I jump on, I probably suck at it. Okay, so I did say I was going to make another video, but I believe that I have some time to cover my last 5 games, because I don't have much to say about them, but this will be the end of my Steam highlights. Okay, so the next game on my list is Slender the Arrival. Now, this is a great horror game. I haven't played much of it, but from what I played from it, I can already tell that it was a great horror game. I definitely recommend it. That was short, but I'm going to jump right into the next one. Sonic Adventure 1 and 2. So, I played these games on the GameCube first, and then I played them on the PC, and then the 360, and then replayed them on the Xbox One, and then played them on the Dreamcast. So, I played these games a handful of times, but in my opinion, this is the best. Ports of them, they look the best, sound the best, and play the best. The keyboard controls honestly suck ass when doing it on here, so I recommend plugging in a gamepad when playing these games, because that's the way they were meant to be played when they were released for the Dreamcast. So, it definitely is a very fun game. It has aged significantly, and definitely doesn't play as well as games would play nowadays. The gameplay style and mechanics and everything else have aged bad. It hasn't aged well, but for its time when it came out, the games were very good. So, for nostalgia purposes, I still jump back on and play these games, and sometimes I even try and rebeat them, and I still play Chow World. That's one of my guilty pleasures. Chow World is my guilty pleasure game. Alright, so third to last game on my list is Battlefront 2. So I also have this on the original Xbox, but I have played it on the PC countless times. The servers were down when I got it, but I installed a server client so I can play online, and this honestly was an amazing classic game. This is back during the time when Battlefront games were actually good. Unfortunately, nowadays they're not nearly as good. But this is classic Battlefront 2, not the new Battlefront 2 that EA came out with. This was classic. It was a lot of fun. I recommend this to anybody that is a shooter fan and a Star Wars fan together. This is more or less a third-person shooter game. I believe there are some options to play first-person in this game, but you also get to ride around in ships. And it's when you're playing like the story modes of these games, you really feel like you're a part of that movie, like you're doing something. Because this has to really do with the prequels, the Star Wars prequel trilogy, and it makes you feel like you're right there. So with that being said, I'm going to jump into the next game, second to last game, the Tomb Raider franchise. So I bought the entire collection of the Tomb Raider games on here back before Rise of the Tomb Raider and Shadow of the Tomb Raider came out. So I haven't played every single one of them on here, but I did play a decent amount of them. And honestly, the ports of these are incredible. They're great games. If you're an Uncharted fan and you haven't played the Tomb Raider franchise, Tomb Raider is pretty much just Uncharted with a girl protagonist. It plays pretty much the same. The older games, they play a bit differently because, they're much older games. But Rise of the Tomb Raider, the Tomb Raider reboot, and Shadow of the Tomb Raider all look and play amazing and play very similarly to Uncharted. So they've also got very good stories behind them. Multiplayer, honestly, is just pretty bland to me. I'd rather just play the stories and get it done with. But Tomb Raider is one of my favorite franchises. I am looking to do a full series completion of this like I have for Uncharted. I have beaten Rise of the Tomb Raider and the reboot game. I would like to beat Shadow of the Tomb Raider to do the reboot full series completion, but until then, it's just cool to know that I have all these games. The last game on my list for my Steam highlights until the next video, which probably won't be for a very long time, will be The Witcher 3. So this game gives me very Skyrim-like vibes, but it is like more or less a third-person game where you run around and kill people. So the story itself is pretty good. I unfortunately didn't play The Witcher 1 or 2. When The Witcher 3 came out, it was a much bigger game than those in my opinion, and it got Game of the Year from a lot of people who reviewed it. So I really think that this is a highlight of my collection. Although I haven't played it a whole ton, from what I played so far, it is an amazing game and I recommend it to anybody. I would eventually like to play some of the prequels to this game as well, but until then, this game will just be sitting in my library untouched until I finally get some time to sit down and play it more. Okay guys, that's the last of my Steam highlights that I'm going to talk about. So since PC is a giant platform and more games just keep coming out, considering you can just upgrade your PC, my Steam library will eventually keep increasing, and maybe in the next 2 to 3 years I will update my Steam digital highlights, as well as maybe adding like Uplay and Bethesda and Origin and even Xbox digital games to the mix. So thank you guys for watching this video. I will see you all in the next one. Hey guys, what's going on? This is Andrew here today, and I'm going to be continuing the series that I like to call Highlights of My Collection, and today we're going to be talking about the PS3. So when it comes to this system, I actually got the system very late. I didn't own it when it was the main system that everyone was playing. I had the Xbox 360, and even then I didn't play many multiplayer games until later on when the Xbox One and PS4 started coming out. So I didn't really get into multiplayer much, and I had no reason to have a PS3 due to the fact that I mainly played the Wii because I was a Nintendo guy when I was younger. Eventually down the line, I started playing a lot of the games that were cross-platform, and my dad had a 360, so I played it on that. So since I experienced Xbox, I got a 360 for myself, eventually an Xbox One, and then when I saw a lot of the cool things that were coming out on PS4, I eventually got that, and that is pretty much what got me into playing all platforms, because at one point I was only a Nintendo and Xbox guy, but then I jumped over to giving Sony a chance as well, and I love the PS4 like crazy, so I figured I had to give the PS3 a chance and get it. So I love the system so far. I haven't played enough of it, considering when I first got the system, all I was playing were games that came free with PlayStation Plus. I didn't have many games to play, so it wasn't until probably last year, around Black Friday, where I actually bought some games to play on the system, minus Guitar Hero 3, but this is more of a progress video. I don't have many games on the system, dude, so like I said before, the 360 being the console I mainly collect, and mainly the fact that 360 ports are the better versions of the game. But if there are games that are absolute garbage on the PS3 to where they were ported terribly, I always love playing those versions because I love just seeing how bad they were. So there may be 1 or 2 of those games in here, I don't remember, but let's get into it now before I go on a major tangent. So I'm going to talk about PS3. All that vapor in the background is due to my allergies being terrible. It's essential oils, it's not me vaping or anything smoking that's going to kill me. So don't worry about that if you see that in the side of the camera. Okay, so the first game I'm going to talk about is a launch title for the PS3, and that is Resistance Fallen Man. So, obviously the PS3 launched at $600. It didn't really launch with that many good exclusives. This was one of them. I don't really hear many PlayStation fans talking about it nowadays. It hasn't hit a major impact on many people, but I do have a few people that I watch on YouTube, like Review Tech USA, who has played through the whole series and talked about it, and going back into it, he said it hasn't aged well, but honestly, I think it's a decent game to me. Obviously, the controls haven't aged very well, because most shooters have a standard now of how the controls are, where this is kind of where they're still kind of being established. Not a bad game altogether. I think the story is pretty good so far. I haven't beaten it. I did get through a decent chunk of it, but I like it so far. If I beat this one, I'll get 2 and 3, but I didn't want to buy 2 and 3 if I didn't like the first. Even though I am a collector and I normally do that, I didn't want to get... For my PS3, I'm just trying to get the quality stuff on it. Alright, so I'll put this game aside. I recommend this one. Next one is Guitar Hero 3. I don't need to talk about this one. I played it on the 360. I had barely touched it on the PS3. I kind of just had it so I can say I had Guitar Hero 3 on every system, which I do. On 360, PS3, PS2, Wii, PC. I have it on every platform that there is. So, good game. One of the best in the series. Probably the best in the series, but yeah, I still like Warriors of Rock the best. Okay, the next game is one that I played on 360 first, but I had to buy it again. It was Black Friday. I saw that it was really cheap, and there was like, I forgot what the Black Friday deal was, but PS3 games were really cheap when you got them in a bundle last year, so I decided to get this along with another game I'm going to talk about next. That is Black Ops 1. So I got into this game very later on as well. I did play zombies with my friends earlier on, like at my friend's house and stuff, but my parents didn't let me get M-rated games when I was younger, especially the time when this came out, so I didn't really get to experience this on my own. I did get to watch my friends play it mostly. Every time I'd play it, I died at round 1. I pretty much sucked, so I just used to watch them. But eventually down the line, after playing BO2, that was the first Call of Duty game I had for myself, and then getting Ghosts, the first game that I had where I had Xbox Live and I played multiplayer with my friends. I eventually got this game later down the line because I got into the campaigns of the games, and I love the hell out of this campaign. This is one of the best campaigns in the Call of Duty franchise, in my opinion. It might even be the best one, in my opinion. It was really good. I do love Modern Warfare's as well. I love BO2. I loved all the campaigns of the COD games minus BO3, but this was a very good one. On top of that, having a great multiplayer, great zombies. I will probably play through the campaign again. I've beaten it more than once. I'd probably do it again just for the fact that I love this game. I might go and do it again and even try it on either Veteran or Hardened, because most of the time when I play a COD game, I go on the lower difficulties. Alright, on to the next. This one's my favorite. This one's my favorite that I have. The Last of Us. So, my brother had this on PS4 originally. Down the line, eventually he sold his PS4, and of course he wasn't just going to let me sign into his account and play the games. So, and he didn't have the disc version either. He had the digital version that came with the PS4. He got the GTA 5 Last of Us bundle. Last of Us came digital with the digital code, and GTA 5 came with the disc. Wish Last of Us would have came with the disc, but he probably would have sold it anyway rather than give it to me. So I eventually bought this on Black Friday alongside BO2 and some other Xbox and PlayStation and Switch games. This was incredible. I honestly was really impressed by this game. I didn't get to play much of it on the PS4, but I was very happy with the experience on PS3. This is an example of the developers taking full advantage of the PS3's hardware, because this looks good as some current-gen games that came out. The cell processor was definitely more powerful than the processor they had in the PS4. At least I think it is. It was a powerhouse, and this game was incredible. Incredible story. I was very disappointed with how The Last of Us 2 was. I didn't play it, but I did see how the gameplay was in the story. This, honestly, was an amazing game. I do recommend playing The Last of Us 2, though, after this one, just to see what happens next, but this, in my opinion, if you don't play another Last of Us game, just stick with this one. If you're going to pick between the two, definitely go for this one. One of the best PS3 games. This sold a lot of PS3s, and this is one of the reasons that I jumped to PlayStation as well as a lot of my friends do. Okay, the next game, I haven't played at all, but this is just a game that I have on my list. I don't even know how the game is. I just bought it because I was at a thrift store and I saw it for $3, so. Rage. Yeah, I don't know much about it. I'm just gonna say that I have it. There's that. Oh man. Talk about, like I was saying before, you know, the 360 normally got the better ports of the games due to the fact that it was very hard to develop for the PS3. Not that the PS3 was less powerful, but it was just harder to develop for, and devs just didn't want to take the time to utilize the full power. So One game that was a complete buggy mess on both systems, but especially the PS3, was Sonic 06. So I am a diehard Sonic fan. I always have been. I always preferred it over Mario when I was younger, and even to this day, I prefer the older Sonic games to the Mario games. Although I did love Odyssey 64, you know, Sunshine and all that, I always did like the Sonic games better, as much as I hate to admit it. But as newer entries to the series came out, there's no doubt in mind that these games were complete garbage. I did have fun with this game. I'm not completely done with it. I'm almost done with Sonic's story. I will eventually get down to it, but man, this game runs complete shit on the PS3. Frame dips all over the place, glitches everywhere. It is just not fun sometimes, but it is fun to mess around with nonetheless, even though I just completely shit on it. This is definitely gives me something to go back and play. Although it is complete garbage, I do believe if the developers actually made this game not a buggy mess, it would have been pretty decent, because the graphics were good, the story was pretty decent, and honestly, it's not too bad of a game minus the bugs and the glitches. I will honestly say that. It is honestly one of the worst games of all time due to the glitches, but without the glitches, I feel like this would have been a pretty damn good game. It's unfortunate that Sega hasn't really been releasing many good Sonic games, minus Generations and Mania. Forces sucked. I'm very ashamed to be a Sonic fan. For the new ones, but this one included. I liked it, even though it's shit. I like it. Alright, that's my last two. So this one is also a pretty shit game, and a lot of the time when I get the games on the PS3, I get some pretty shitty ones too. I'm completely contradicting what I said before, and I try to get quality on the system. This is Power Gig. This is basically a Guitar Hero clone that was not good at all. The engine was terrible. The song list was not bad, but it really was not good. It was not a great game, and it was just an odd one. This really does not fit into any category of a good rhythm game. I got this solely for the meme. I got it for 99 cents, as you can see here, at GameStop. I believe technically 89 cents since I got the pro member price, but man, this game was not good at all. That's all I can say about it. Okay, the last one is a game that I mainly play on 360, although I haven't played much of yet. That is Battlefield 3. The only other game besides this that I experienced was Hardline. I had Battlefield 4 for a time, but when I got my 360, my mom got it for me for Christmas, got me the 4GB model, and the Battlefield 4 would not run on anything but an Xbox 360 hard drive. Like, it wouldn't run on a flash drive or anything, so I ended up giving it to my friend for his birthday, and I didn't get to play BF3 either, but I did get this recently from my friend. He was selling it on Mercari. I thought, hey, I'm going to buy it from him for no reason, so I got it. I mainly will play the 360 version, but due to the fact that I haven't played my PS3 much, I may just jump on this one. Alright guys, that's the end of my PS3 collection video. I know a lot of stuff was vague by how I explained it, but that's just due to the fact that my collection is really not that big yet. I don't know how big it will ever get due to the fact that I have always preferred Xbox over PlayStation, but in terms of my PS4 versus Xbox One collection, I preferred the PS4 much crazy. We'll see what happens next generation with the Xbox versus PS5, because I keep jumping back and forth between the two, which systems I like the best. I like the OG Xbox better than the PS2, the 360 better than the PS3, the PS4 better than the One. We'll see what happens next generation. I have the Series X pre-ordered. I will eventually get a PS5 down the line, maybe in 2021. Until then, guys, that's my collection on the PS3. After this whole next-gen hype for me is done, I will get back to collecting, but for probably the next year, I'll probably focus more on getting games for the PS5 and Xbox Series X. After that, I will collect a lot more. Not saying I will stop collecting for some time, but I won't collect nearly as much. Thank you guys for watching this video. I will see you all in the next one. Hey guys, what's going on? This is the next video in the series that I like to call Highlights of My Collection. And today we're going to be talking about the highlights of my first-person shooter games. I normally go by console, but considering I've covered almost all of them, I've decided to start jumping into genres because I want to kind of expand this little highlights of my collection series into more little things. So I have a lot of FPS games, and there are a lot that I haven't played. So this won't necessarily be the only video of my highlights, and it might not necessarily be the best out of every game I have because I haven't played all of them. I don't know any collector that's probably played all their games, so being me, who pretty much just like went and impulse bought a ton of original Xbox games, there's a ton in there that I still need to try out. So I tried to not make this list too big because I would like to include some games from the same series in the next list. I don't want to if I were to make this video to where I'm talking about the highlights of my FPS series and I included all the games, half of this list would be Call of Duty because I love every single one of them. So I tried to narrow it down to maybe one or two from the series. Also in this video, for some reason, I couldn't find Battlefield 1, so I'm just going to say that's one of my highlights. I don't know where it is. I'm almost positive my brother probably sold it, but I'm not going to assume. I just don't know where it is. But we're going to start this video, and we're going to be talking about all these games. So I have a few in here. Let's start. First game is Fear for the Xbox 360, and a lot of people will argue that Fear is the best first-person shooter that ever came out. I've heard a few people say that, and this game, honestly, it hasn't aged too well, in my opinion. The first one, the gameplay style, just the mechanics and everything, and just how it controls feels a little bit off compared to other shooters. I do like it a lot, however. I haven't beaten the first one. I will eventually get to doing 2 and 3 after I beat the first one. This game so far is pretty good from what I've played so far, but there's still much more I have to do. But I will consider this a highlight. Okay, next game is a game I know a little too much about, Doom. So this game I had on PC. I played it on the PS4 as well. And my favorite port was the PC, but when I saw it came out on the Switch, I literally went berserk. No pun intended. This game was so good. Honestly, it's still my favorite. It's my favorite game of all time, I can say. And the Switch port was okay too. I know it was only at 30 FPS, but being able to play it portably just made you kind of forget about that. After a while, you kind of forgot about the frame dips. I even saw it like drop below 20s at some point, but you forget about that when you remember how good of a game this is. This is just one of those great games. I honestly love it. If you played the original Doom and all that stuff, this is definitely something to go after too. Alright, next game on my list is Black Ops 1. So not only did I love the zombies mode and the multiplayer on this, I experienced the multiplayer later on. Not only did I love the zombies mode, but I feel like this was the best campaign of any first-person shooter, in my opinion. Every Call of Duty game that I played had a decent campaign, minus Black Ops 3, but this one really is the one that came out on top for me. I feel like they really highlighted the characters in the best way. I have yet to play Modern Warfare, and I'm very excited to play Cold War when that comes out, but so far this is the best campaign I feel like they've ever written. The plot was really good, and you really felt like you identified with these characters, and man, there were plot twists in this that I really feel like they did better in these than certain movies. It really was good. And on top of that, the gameplay still holds up to this day. I feel like this isn't a shooter that's really aged. The zombies is still some of the best zombie maps of all time. The campaign is still my favorite first-person shooter campaign of all time. But man, this was great. Gotta put this aside. Okay. Next game on my list is a game from the same franchise, Black Ops 3. I know I just shit on the fact that this had a bad campaign, but this had the best zombies mode, and this is the game that like I was diehard multiplayer on. Before this, I played multiplayer once in a while with my friends, and I went complete shit, but this was the game that really got me into doing it. This is when I finally started to getting away from a negative KD to where I've constantly had more kills than deaths in multiplayer, and this was one of my favorite games, really, of the generation, I have to say. This game was awesome. I know a lot of people will shit on it considering the fact that a lot of the games came out futuristic and fans were getting annoyed, but I don't believe that should discredit this game. It was awesome. The campaign could have been better, I admit that, but the zombies were incredible, the best ever, and the multiplayer, even though it had some pretty weird, interesting maps, I honestly loved it. I don't regret getting this or the Season Pass. I also bought it on Xbox One as well. Like I said before, I can't find it. This is, on top of that, actually, I got the PS4 limited edition. The Black Ops 3 limited edition PS4. So that's how much I love this game. Alright, next game on my list is Destiny. This is Destiny 1. This comes with, the first expansion, the second one, and then the Taken King. So these games were all good at its time. I feel like this was really when Destiny was at its best. Later on, I feel like Destiny kind of killed itself, shot itself in the foot with Rise of Iron. I didn't play Rise of Iron, but I saw gameplay, and I honestly was bored. This was really at the time where Destiny was at its best. The story was good. The gameplay was amazing. I really wish they would have made it 60 FPS and not 30. 30 FPS just felt like garbage on this thing, but man, it was a really good game, and I played this with friends for days. I originally had it on Xbox One, and normally you would think that after putting hundreds of hours into it, having to restart, you get bored pretty fast, but I got right to where I was before on Xbox One when I got this on the PS4, because when I got the Black Ops 3 Limited Edition PS4 on Black Friday a few years back, this came with it as well, since it was a Black Friday deal. So I ended up buying this, and man, it was really good. I feel like after this game, it kind of all went downhill. I do have Destiny 2, and I do have Game Pass, to where I'm probably going to jump back on Xbox and start playing it again, but this game was probably the best. I will say that. I put countless hours into it. Okay, the next game, this was a launch title for the PS4. I can't say I'm a huge fan of it, but it really was pretty cool to see a game look this good on the PS4. I hadn't played any Killzone games before this. I really would like to get Killzone Mercenaries on the Vita and try that out. I heard that this game wasn't too great, but I've played some of it, and it's pretty good in my opinion. I can consider this a highlight on my list. I can't talk too much about it because I hadn't played anything but part of the single-player campaign, but I got it for $5 like 2 years ago. So, good game. I just haven't gotten enough into it to really talk fully about it. Okay, the next game is a game I can really talk fully about. Halo 2. So, like I said before, I didn't want to include the first Halo on here just because I didn't want to go too crazy with bringing too many games from the same franchise. I will probably bring it into another video, but in this video, I'm just going to be talking about Halo 2. This is my favorite Halo entry so far. I have kind of jumped back and forth between 3 and Reach for a while, but in my opinion, this was the most revolutionary for its time. I feel like when this came out, it really revolutionized the Halo franchise. Although I didn't experience the multiplayer when I was younger because I was too young to really have Xbox Live or any of that stuff, I did like the single player campaign, and I feel like this was one of the best campaigns of all time. Halo 3 I feel like had a better campaign, but overall I feel like this is probably my favorite Halo game due to just how much I've played it, how fun I have with it. I can honestly go back and replay this as many times as I want. I don't get bored of this game. I don't get bored of CE either. So that I know that's kind of just contradicting myself, but this game was incredible. And if you know Halo, if you know shooters, you know Halo. Alright, down to my last 3 games. And it's another original Xbox game called Black. So I am pretty decently far into this game. And just playing it, I only got it like a few months back. Just playing it, I can tell that so many other shooters were influenced by this one. This had a great story campaign as from what I played so far. It honestly was a revolutionary shooter for its time. The game looked incredible. You can just tell that by playing the Black Ops series that it took inspiration from this. This was an incredible game. Anybody that is an original Xbox owner or a PS2 owner should honestly get this game. It's a lot of fun, and you can definitely see the influence on other shooters later on. Okay, next one is a PC game. So I don't have this on disc, but it came with the case when I bought it on Amazon, because there were times when there were PC case games on Amazon that were going for pre-order for like $40 rather than the $60 digital. So that was kind of weird. But I saw this one on Amazon and thought, hey, maybe it's fine. I have a disc drive on my PC. I might as well play it. But it turned out it didn't come with the disc. I don't even think it came with the disc holder. No, it just came with the case with some codes in here for installing the game, some extra content. Yeah, but Titanfall 2 was an amazing game. I really feel like it improved over Titanfall 1. Titanfall 1 was one of the first games I got for the Xbox One. It might have been like the second game I got for it. And although I liked it a bit, I feel like there was so much that they could have done more with it. And this really took on the amazing campaign, the amazing multiplayer. I really hope that these guys come out with a third Titanfall because, man, this game was incredible. I can't speak about it enough. It was... I don't remember a crazy ton of it. I just remember it looking really good, playing really well, the story being pretty good, and man, this game was a hell of an experience and definitely miles over the first one. The last one on my list, I'm repeating stuff again, but last one on my list is Doom Eternal. I have not beaten this game yet, and so far I like Doom 2016 better than this one, but I have to say this really does a good job of making the classic Doom guy transition into playing a modern Doom. You know, the characters look much more like the classic characters than Doom 2016 did. I like the artwork better in Doom 2016, but I feel like the graphics in this were a whole lot better. Also, I thought I was able to melee much better in Doom 2016, but this is a great shooter, and if you played Doom 2016, you should definitely go and check out this one. So this is another case, no pun intended, where they just sent me a case and a code, because they were selling this for like $48, I think. I got this on launch day. I played it on launch day because of how big of a fan I was of Doom 2016, literally my favorite game of all time. Yeah, so I got this launch day. They sent me the... This isn't even a disc. It's a fake disc with a game code on it where you had to download it on a Bethesda's thing. they misled me so hard because they actually told me I was supposed to download this on Origin, but they were wrong. I had to go on Bethesda's website and download it on there instead. So yeah, that was kind of weird how they thought I had to go on Origin. The code would not work on Origin; it only worked on Bethesda's. But like I said before, with Titanfall, this was also an example where the pre-order price was cheaper. It was like $45 compared to $60 getting it digitally, or even getting it on Xbox One and PS4. So I chose this version. PC is the best way to play Doom. All the versions, and yeah, this was a very great game. So yeah, I'm gonna keep playing it eventually, beat it eventually. I will say again, I do like Doom 2016 better, but I would like to eventually beat this, and I'm trying to beat it on Nightmare as well. Alright guys, that's the highlights of my collection video for my first-person shooters. I hope you guys enjoyed it. This will be the first one out of maybe a few that I'm going to make eventually. But anyway guys, thank you for watching this video. I will see you all in the next one. Hey guys, what's going on? This is Andrew here today, and I'm going to be doing another video in the series I like to call Highlights of My Collection, and today we're going to be covering the GameCube. So the GameCube has a little bit of a sad story in my life, considering that when I was pretty young, I sold most of my GameCube games to a retro game store, as well as my Game Boy Color, my GBA, my DSi, the black one, and almost my entire Pokemon game library minus a few. Yes, I sold my Heart Gold and Soul Silver. I sold all of my Gen 1 and Gen 2 Pokemon games. I only kept Gen 3, Pokemon Black, and Pokemon Platinum, and Black 2. So I got very unlucky nowadays, and I want to punch my old self in the face. So yes, half of my collection of my GameCube games I ended up finding in another CD case somewhere in my basement years later. I was very lucky to find that, and on top of that, I found a few game cases. So also during some of this time, when I was getting games when I was younger, my mom would constantly throw out the game cases and put the games in these little multi-disc cases. So that's also why some of these games ended up caseless, or some of the games ended up discless. And whatever cases I have that are the games I had, I will talk about. Unfortunately, the ones I don't have the games for are ones I'm not going to talk about today. But there were a ton of games that I had for the GameCube that I loved, unfortunately sold, being Monkey Ball. I wasn't into Sunshine, so I sold that right away. I had Mario Super Sluggers. That game was a ton of fun. Yeah, I had a whole collection of games that I sadly sold, but I kept a lot of the good ones, so we're going to get right into those right now. So, my favorite game, we're going to start off with my favorite game on the system. That goes to Pokemon XD Gale Darkness. So, I never actually had the original case for this. If you can see right here, this was a Blockbuster purchase. I got it for $10. So, this is a great deal, because nowadays, when you see this game, you can see this game going up to like $60, $70. I've seen it sold for $100 for a decent copy in condition. Now, I got this for $10, obviously without the normal case, but to kind of put the value out there, this is a Blockbuster case, so that's got to be up some value some way. Now, I love this Pokemon game so much. It's one of my favorite Pokemon games in the franchise, and whenever a new Pokemon game comes out for the handhelds, or, now that they're coming out for the Switch, I always compare them graphically to this game. I honestly thought this game took a pretty cool approach at story rather than the traditional kind of Pokemon game would, where in this game you kind of went around playing without encountering wild Pokemon in the grass, no gym leaders, just a pretty good Pokemon concept kind of game. I loved it a lot. I still love it. I recently beat it for the first time about almost 2 years ago, maybe a little over a year ago, and I have replayed it on my GameCube emulator on my Razer phone that I use for emulation of multiple consoles. So, I'm going to put this game down and talk about the next one. Alright, another big game of my childhood has to go to Sonic Heroes. So, this may have been the first 3D Sonic game that I had, but I'm not 100% sure if I had this or Sonic Adventure 1 and 2 first. But I do remember this being one of the first games that I had. Unfortunately, I sold the disc, but I have the game on the PS2, but I figured I'd bring this out since I have the case still. I had a lot of fun with this game growing up. I loved how you can play as multiple different characters, how you get to switch between the two with the abilities. However, when I was young, I was pretty bad at the game, so I don't think I really got that far. But from what I did love about this game, I just remember the soundtrack being absolutely incredible and me singing to it when I was younger. I don't do much singing now, or any at all, for that matter, but I love this game and the soundtrack, and man, it still plays in my head to this day. Alright, next game is an incredible one, and that is Mario Kart Double Dash. So, this was the first Mario Kart game that I ever got, and what's ironic about this is I didn't give it a total amount of attention, because I had this game for maybe a few months prior to when I got my Wii. So I got the GameCube in probably 2006, when the Wii was already out at that point, and I got the GameCube 2006 and the Wii probably in 2009. But I probably got this game. I got this game in 2009, and then ended up maybe it was 2008. I can't keep track. Whatever it was, I was young. I got this game a few months before in Mario Kart Wii, so I didn't get enough playing time in this because I jumped right to the Wii version right after. This is an awesome game. Many people go back to it and talk about how much they love it. Some people will consider it the best. Some people consider the DS version of Mario Kart the best. This game is a lot of fun to me. I haven't played it in a very, very long time due to the fact that I focused on more of the newer Mario Karts, since Mario Kart to me, all the games feel the same to me. I know a lot of diehard fans will disagree with me on that, but when I see Mario Kart, I really just see revised Mario Kart, the exact same thing happening over and over again. I know the same thing happens over and over again with Pokemon, but to me, this just feels like just Mario Kart. I don't know. I had a lot of fun with it. I played this first before. This is the first Mario Kart I ever played, and then, the rest was history. I had a lot of fun with this one. Next game on my list is Lord of the Rings: Return of the King. So, big history with this game. After playing Lord of the Rings: The Two Towers, which was a game that my dad took away from me because I started repeating bad things that they were saying in the game, started pretending to stab people. He decided to take that game away from me until he felt I was more mature. When I finally got the game back, I went to the store and picked this up the day I got it back because I had beaten The Two Towers probably so many times. I played through some of this. I hadn't beaten the game. Even to this day, having it for probably over 10 years, I still have not gotten to beating this game. I have it on the original Xbox as well, so I bought this game twice. Yeah, it's a pretty good game from what I played so far. I definitely think it's a step up from The Two Towers, even though The Two Towers is my favorite game of the Lord of the Rings games. But yeah, this is definitely a good game. I definitely recommend checking it out if you have either a PS2 or an Xbox or a GameCube. It runs the best on the Xbox, but I think the frame rate is pretty good on the GameCube as well. Not so much on the PS2. Okay, another game which I don't have the case for, but a disc. A lot of people hated this game. A lot of Sonic fans, or any fan for that matter, still hates on this game to this day, and that is Shadow the Hedgehog, or as some people refer to as Ow the Edge. So, a lot of my friends hated this one, but me and one particular friend, one of my friends, Michael, we really were into this game, and this is a big part of my childhood, because we were in the same third grade class. I remember getting this game, playing a ton of it, getting pretty far in it. I went over to my friend's house. Him and I got up to Dr. Eggman, and it wasn't like the final mission. It was just like it was one of the endings that we got up to. I went home, got up to the same ending myself. When I beat that boss, he called me as I was about to call him. We had beaten the boss at the same time, so I love the hell out of this game. I know a lot of Sonic fans don't like it, but I kind of like the storyline behind it. I don't like how they had like multiple endings, so we had to get the real canon ending. I feel like they could have just made the game longer, to where they could have just had it to where it was one big ending, a much better story, a much better way to kind of expand on the franchise rather than kind of end it and then have to reboot it, and then this game really just kind of not make sense and not be canon altogether. But I like this game a lot. I thought it was a lot of fun, and out of the whole Sonic franchise, this definitely isn't my favorite, but it's definitely a game that I replay every so often, considering it's a big part of my childhood. Okay, the next game on my list, it's gotta have a name on it. Spider-Man 2. Oh man, it's probably in my GameCube because the disc isn't in here. But Spider-Man 2 to me was probably my first game that I grinded when I was younger. I played other games, but this was definitely the first one that I 100% grinded. So it was a lot of fun. I played it constantly all the time. This obviously revolutionized code and led the way for new Spider-Man games to come out. Obviously, some of the other games didn't take advantage of that web-slinging technology, but definitely the Spider-Man 2018 and Spider-Man Miles Morales is definitely borrowing from some of the code that was used in this game to develop that mechanic. Now, I thought the game was incredible. I loved the free play in it. I know you couldn't really punch anybody unless you were assigned to a mission to stop bad guys or whatever, but I had a lot of fun with the free play. I would just swing around the city. Sometimes, if I was just bored, didn't feel like doing much, I'd just swing around the city, try to go all the way to where there was a train. I'd go right in front of the train, let the train hit me flying, or I'd go on top of the highest building and jump from the top of it. Yeah, I had a lot of fun with Spider-Man 2, and I still have never beaten it, but hopefully at some point I'll go back to it and maybe finally complete it. SpongeBob the movie. Oh man, this game I just beat for the first time a few months back. I had this game many years ago. This is one of the games that was a huge part of my childhood. I played it all the time. I recently showed my little sister, who's 6 years old, to it. She has no idea how to play it, but it's just like, it reminds me of myself, because it was one of the first games that I got myself into playing. I didn't know what I was doing, and now it was her playing. This also happened to be one of the first games I ever got, because I had it on the GBA as well. Obviously, different version, but still similar concept. I had a lot of fun with this, and although I do believe Battle for Bikini Bottom was a better game, this one was a lot of fun as well. I loved how you can just like get power-ups as time went on. I love the story behind it. I love how they kind of like mocked the movie in a way, how they kind of expanded on the story to make the game a little better. And it was broken definitely in some ways, but definitely had a lot of fun with it. Alright, next game, I'm going to kind of bring the two games together so I don't go too much over the time here. Sonic Adventure and Sonic Adventure 2, I've already talked about these in my Dreamcast video, but these two games in particular are the reason why I love Sonic to this day. So Sonic the Hedgehog on the GBA was the first game I ever played that was Sonic-wise. I think I had Sonic Heroes before these two games, now that I think about it. But these were the games that made me go, Sonic is fucking great. Nowadays, I look at these games with much lower esteem, but this got me into the franchise. It's upsetting to me that Sonic really has not had a good title since these two. When I say good, I mean something as good as these two. And it's been since 2000 that's happened. I know Sonic Mania was great. I hated Sonic Forces. Any other Sonic game that I had, I pretty much returned when I had it on the Wii. And Sonic 06 I'm currently playing through doesn't even compare to these two games. Love these two a lot. I like Sonic Adventure 2 better in some ways, Sonic Adventure 1 better in the other ways. Overall, I like Sonic 2 better. Chow World took way too much of my time when I was younger, and my brother's time. Two games are absolutely incredible, though. Definitely recommend checking them out, whether you have PC. They're on every platform at this point. If you have a Dreamcast, I definitely recommend getting them, though. But the GameCube, they had the definitive console versions at the time. Okay, we've got a few minutes to spare. We're down to 3 more games, and one of them happens to be Metroid Prime. So, unfortunately, this game came in, and although the disc looks to be in perfect condition, there really doesn't seem to be any scratches, it wouldn't work on my GameCube, and I don't know why that is. This could just be a fucked up disc that GameStop thought worked. I don't know what GameStop does, because when I bought this game, it was when they had the deals where it was like, if you buy 5 games, get them all 50% off, and that's when I bought this, because it was a pre-owned game. And sometimes they sent me games that worked perfectly. Sometimes they sent me a game that didn't work at all. Some games would load and then freeze. But yeah, this is one of my bad luck games. I got my refund on it. Unfortunately, have not played this game yet. But considering it's such a high title with high esteem, I have to put this in my highlights. I will eventually get to playing this. Maybe I'll play it on an emulator or something, considering I have a physical copy. Gotta love the voice crack, right, guys? Alright, so I talked about this game way too much because when I did a Xbox highlights and other game highlights and everything like that, Lord of the Rings: The Two Towers is what I talked about. So I continually go back and replay this game. I love the Lord of the Rings, the movie franchise. I love the video game. This is my favorite in the entire series. I love being able to play as Aragorn, Legolas, and Gimli. They were definitely all my childhood. Like I said before, this is the game that my dad took away from me when I started acting violent with it, and well, can you really blame him? I was kind of, showing signs of being too violent, and you're not supposed to give kids that aren't mature enough to play games that are mature. So he took it away. I think that was the right move. Years later, I got it back, played the hell out of it, beat the game. I had so much fun with this game, guys, and I still have fun with it. I still will go back and replay it. But since I've talked about it so much, I'm going to stop right here with that. Okay, so now I'm down to my last game, and this was the first game that I got on the GameCube. And I still will replay it once in a while with friends. And that is Lego Star Wars, the video game. So, I liked Lego Star Wars 2 better. For some reason, the game got lost. I don't know where it went. I still haven't found the game. I have a feeling once I throw out some of my couches in my basement, which I'm going to do soon, I'm going to end up finding this game, like Lego Star Wars 2 under the couch somewhere. I had the game, have no idea where the hell it went. Someone probably broke it, maybe threw it out and just didn't tell me, or someone else sold it. I have no clue. I wasn't able to find it. I lost it years and years and years ago, even before I was a collector. But this game, I put so much time for me. This is the game that really taught me how to play video games, because when you play with someone who knows how to play, they pretty much drag you across the screen, and then you eventually get the coordination down and start to follow them. So So then my cousin would constantly be that kind of person who would just drag me around. I'd figure out as time went on, as I kept playing the game. And eventually I learned how to play video games after this. I had video games before this, but I just wasn't good at them. Just to make that clear. I sucked at them. Didn't know what to do. Barely knew how to move my character. This game is what developed my coordination for video games. So this is definitely an important one in my collection. Alright guys, so that's all for the highlights of my collection. If I were to collect more for the system, there could be another video in the future with this, covering more. So thank you guys for watching this video. I will see you all in the next one.
Alright, if you made it to the end of this video, thank you for watching very much. If you really did make it to the end of this video, well, thank you. You're dedicated as hell, for one thing. And if you just happen to have just been done with the end video still, thank you for coming to the channel. Thank you for watching the video. I will see you all in the next one.